What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my studio. Happy Halloween. I'm Joseph Finchum. You're you, I hope. And yeah, it's story time. Who's excited? I put a poll up there, so hopefully that'll get some votes. How's everybody doing? No sound. All good now? Okay, good. Um, yes. The main focus tonight is the story. Um, I'm just gonna get this out of the way real quick. Since the last time you saw me, I have a denture. And so I have a little bit of a lisp at the moment. I only got them this final pair October 9th. So I haven't had much time to get used to them. And I recorded the story with them. So if you hear me lisping or slurring a little bit, I'm not drunk. I'm just still getting used to these things. So there's that. Um, you guys can hear me. Hopefully, I will be able to hear the story too, so I know what to do when. I am doing this tonight. It is definitely going to be digital. Realized I don't have any blank canvases, so yeah. Who else is here? George, Pencil Art, D. Lynn, Starving Artist, and Clark Fine Art, and Wildflower. Yes. Um, yeah. It to what Wildflower said. I definitely understand because other people have told me that it doesn't sound that bad. It changes the sound in my head. So I think it's worse than it is, of course. Um, yeah, it's a piece of hard resin rather than the soft roof of your mouth, so sound echoes in my own head a little differently, I think. Okay, so this is going to be digital. I'm doing it in Fresco on Adobe Fresco. I've used this program exactly 5 times, so we'll see how this goes. Hopefully, it'll go okay. Um, so, yeah, let's get this story started. I have 5 votes. Let me check my votes. Um, why can't I scroll you down? There we go. Oh, it went the other way. I thought it was going to go the other way. Huh. Um, digital illustrated line and color. Okay. I have the chat up over here, and it's nice and big, and the monitor is horizontal, so I can actually read everything with my terrible glasses. Homemade sugar cookies and coffee for my afternoon or after my popcorn. Oh, well done, snacks and all. I have a drink, and that's about it. Okay, so are we ready to get into this? Hopefully. Let me. Hello. Can you hear me now? It's been a long time since I did this. Sound is good. Okay. Yeah, it's been a long time. I still have paint out from last Christmas. That was the last time I actually did anything real in this studio. So, okay. Um, we're still at line drawing. So that's the one thing I've been practicing least. I've used, like I said, I've used this 3 times. The program Fresco. It's basically Adobe's version of Procreate, I guess. And it's also meant for a touch screen, which I don't have. So we'll have to see how that goes. If we're going for line art, that's going to be a little tougher, I think. But we can give it a try. Best thing about Adobe Fresco is you can draw in vector, which means you can always resize anything you want whenever you want, and that is awesome. It's also good for printing. And hard rock plays in my head, yeah. Jack stole the sound, catching up on the chat. Hear you. At first I thought it was my TV. Yeah, I've done that before too. Been a year, I think. Yep, just about a year. Yeah, the last thing I did was the middle of December last year. The worst thing is it's Adobe, yes. And everything saves to their cloud, which annoys me, but it means you never have to worry about saving. So, the program seems to be pretty good. This is drawn in it. I drew this on this, so it's not terrible. I do have, like, I don't know which one I'm going to use. If I'm doing the line art, I'll probably end up using this one, the red version, which is, just converted into red so that I can see what I'm doing and trace it like an inker would. Okay, are we ready for this story? Well, Wildflower, does that mean you weren't there for the cosmic Christmas tree, which is, I think, here somewhere? I don't remember where I put it. Here it is. This was the last thing I did last year. Cosmic Christmas tree, galactic Christmas tree, whatever. And of course, the last thing before that was Jack himself. Okay. Let's get into this drawing. Let's get into the story. I will be muted while the story's on, so you can watch me draw or you can just listen to the story. It's entirely up to you. Okay? Let's get going. Let me make sure everything's working right. Okay, let's get into this. Here we go. I will Jack the Lantern 2, A Return to Ember Falls. Chapter 1. A car cruises down the highway at just above the speed limit. Not enough to attract attention, but enough that the woman driving still feels comfortable. The car is alone on the road, the sole traveler making its way across the country. As the roadway before it rises up, the driver gives it a little more gas, just to keep the car moving at nearly the same speed. The car seems to struggle a little on these inclines, but it's doing okay. As it comes over the peak of the large hill, the driver is surprised by the sudden appearance of a sea of blinking lights. Fire trucks and cop cars flood the entire road. Just before the mass of emergency vehicles, Two highway patrol cars block all three lanes and are angled towards an exit ramp. The driver looks into the rearview mirror and adjusts their view to look at the back seat. A car seat holding a young girl comes into view. "Well, little girl, looks like we might be taking a detour," the driver says to the sleeping child as they approach the officer waving a flashlight in the direction of the exit ramp. "Can I ask what happened?" the driver asks the officer. "Wildfires up the road, miss. It's contained to one side of the highway, but if the wind shifts, well, it's nothing you'd want to get a good look at," the officer says. "Is there any way to get around it? I'm kind of in a hurry to get this kid home before she's up all night." "Not at the moment," the officer replies. "You can take this exit and follow this road here. It'll take you through a small town and then curve right back to the highway about 20 miles east. That's your best bet right now. This is going to take hours to get under control, and better safe than sorry." "Will it take me all that long?" the driver asks. "No more than 20 minutes. Half an hour if you respect the speed limit in the small town I mentioned, which I suggest you do. But you'll be back on the highway in no time, and have the little lass in bed before you know it." "Well, I'll take your word for it. Thanks for the directions," the driver says in a slightly defeated tone. "You're welcome, ma'am. You have a safe night." The officer taps on the roof twice with his hand to send her off and then flinches as he remembers the sleeping child. He flashes a not-so-confident smile and shrugs as the driver pulls away in the old beat-up red Toyota. The small car continues down the old country road, going up and down the winding hills, half enjoying that feeling of weightlessness as the car drops out from under her, and that feeling you get in your stomach. With each hill and curve, the driver knows they are that much closer to getting back on the highway and making it home before midnight. But just as the car begins to climb another country hill, it makes a sudden clunk of a noise, followed by a good amount of hissing as steam begins to pour through the gaps around the hood and from under the fenders. The first signs of a small town come into view as the car crests the hill. It seems to be all downhill with a few curves in the road until the first building of the town, which conveniently looks like it might be a service station. "Might just be able to make it if I try," the driver says as they shift into neutral and coast downhill. That is, until a street sign catches their eye. The big gold-trimmed black letters read, "Welcome to Ember Falls."
In the town of Ember Falls, a fire begins to spark. There's something out there in the woods and it's creeping through the dark. When the air begins to chill, the trees in autumn slur. When the shadows stretch across this land, you might meet his twisted stare. Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, his madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do. This nightmare comes and goes every 20 years or so. In the darkness of the night, the blaze it seems to know. In the blackness of the woods, fire snakes from here to there. The creature fueled by ancient hate that causes his despair. Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, his madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do. closing in on town, the inferno growing near. When he places his hand upon you and gets you in his grip, your blood begins to boil, your skin begins to drip. The fire is inside you now, you cinder in a flash. The flames of hell engulf your soul and your body turns to ash. Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, his madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do.
The brakes lock up and the car comes to a screeching halt, straddling the double yellow lines at a slight angle. Claire swings open the door and practically jumps out. "You have got to be kidding me," she exclaims as she stares at the large wooden sign. "I can't believe it." She quickly comes to her senses and turns immediately back to the car, specifically the back seat. The young girl hasn't noticed a thing, still sound asleep and cute as a bug in a rug. As her nerves continue to calm, she gets a little more in control and looks back at the car, still spewing steam from under the hood. She knows she can get it to the service station, but she has to do it now. She looks back toward the lot and notices a large empty stall made of chain link fence with a wide open gate. It looks like it might be a good place to leave her car, if she can get it that far. She gets back in and shifts it into neutral and cuts the wheel back down the hill. As the car begins to roll, she closes the door and looks back into the rearview mirror at the little girl in the back seat. "Looks like we might be staying the night," she says softly to the girl's reflection, and then turns her attention to her own reflection. "In the town I swore I'd never come back to." Claire doesn't even know it, but it's 20 years to the day. The car picks up a little speed and slowly rolls straight into the small country town of Ember Falls. She creeps it into the service station, across the lot, and into the gated area, slightly using the brakes to stop. She pulls a notepad and a pen from her bag, leaving a note for whomever may find it explaining what happened and how she really had no choice as to where it ended up. She also apologizes for any inconvenience she may have caused and swears to come back first thing in the morning. Having been here before, she knows that the inn is close and will most likely have a vacancy. She wonders if that is enough as she slips the writing implements back in her bag and throws it over her shoulder. She opens the back door and slowly removes the sleeping child carefully so as not to wake her. She leans the child against her chest and shoulder and turns toward the road that leads into town. And for the first time, she notices it, the faint, all too familiar scent of what could just be a campfire on the wind. She takes a deep breath and then slowly exhales as she takes her first steps towards a distant memory. Okay. Good little start. Welcome back, Claire. I hope it worked. Just, bring a little surprise that it actually was Claire. I don't know if it did. We'll see. This seems to be going okay. Not too bad. So we'll just keep on cranking out these chapters. Ready? Here we go. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. As Claire walks down the main street of the small town, she can't help but notice there is no sense of the fear or uneasiness one might feel walking alone at 10:30 at night in the big city where she still lives. The town is quiet and buttoned up tight. Only a small pub has lights on halfway between herself and the inn down the strip. She feels right at home here, but she does get a strange feeling like she is being watched. It is only then that she notices the faint sound of footsteps behind her. She can hear them approaching. but they aren't getting any closer as far as she can tell. But they are steady and continue to follow her. She picks up the pace a little and seems to be getting further away from them. She looks back over her shoulder and sees the silhouette of an average-sized man in the darkness. She speeds up a little more and looks back every 30 feet or so, but he doesn't seem to be increasing his speed to match hers. She starts to wonder if she's just being paranoid after years of city life. Just in case, she continues to glance backwards every now and then, and as she closes in on the well-lit area around the pub, she looks back one more time, but as she does, she comes to a sudden and abrupt halt as if walking into a wall. Had she not been turned and looking back, she surely would have woken the child she clings to in her arms. As she turns, startled to see just what it was she walked into, she has a moment of shock and surprise.
As I live and breathe. Claire?
Sheriff Dalton says in that thick, gravelly voice of his.
I always expected I'd see you again.
Claire stares stunned for a brief period and takes in the man standing before her. He seems much older than she remembers him, but I guess 20 years will do that. He is still built like a brick shithouse, although the hair is grayer and the beard is longer. She can't believe her eyes as he stands before her. A spry 72-year-old, and while he still appears menacing, he seems more jovial and smiley than she remembers.
Are you okay there, darling? You look like you've seen a ghost,
he jokes with her.
I know I've aged, but I'm not horrifying, am I?
She giggles to herself just a little bit. Sheriff Dalton, this day just keeps getting better.
Well, I'm not gonna arrest you, ma'am. I assume you're heading to the inn. Let me walk you there.
I'd appreciate that, Sheriff, she says softly. He holds up his arm and waves it a bit, signaling to his new deputy and door knocker to finish his rounds.
Shall we?
He says as Claire begins to walk alongside him.
And who is this lovely little person traveling with you this fine night?
Dalton asks. This, Sheriff, is my daughter, Sarah, Claire answers.
Well, isn't she precious? Surprised you bring her along with you,
he says with a smile and a tilted eyebrow. You know, sir, I had absolutely no intention of coming here. Didn't even realize I was in the area until the fire on the highway sent me down this detour. Last time I thought about this town, it was slowly receding in my rear-view mirror. She lied straight to his face. She thought about it all the time, sometimes still wondering if it was truly real or not. He didn't believe her for a second.
So you haven't heard?
He questions slyly. A look of pure surprise stretches across her face, and she instinctively holds her child just a little bit closer and a little bit tighter.
Heard about the fires? I'm hoping it's just some damn teens that came across the legend, but most people have left that all behind. Best left in the past, but that remains to be seen.
The sheriff continues.
I will admit, though, that you showing up like this does not make me less edgy. It makes me both more suspicious and a little happy.
A little happy? Are you mad? She furrows her brow and looks at him in utter shock.
Well, you did put everything to rest and got to the bottom of it faster than anyone from here in town, and they knew the history. You're kind of like our savior. You might be surprised at the way people treat you this time around. You're kind of a local hero.
Oh, great. That's just what I need. That's why I quit journalism. She slowed her pace as the three reached the steps in front of the inn. It's been interesting, Sheriff, she says in a playful tone. I don't plan on staying, and I hope you catch those kids. She turns and starts climbing the old white painted steps.
Kids, huh? Sure hope you're right. Miss Green won't be up this late, but I'm sure someone will be manning the desk. Take care, Claire. I'll make sure Peter down at the station takes quick care of your vehicle. Get you going first thing.
Much appreciated, Sheriff. Thanks for walking me over, but I'll bid you a good night.
Good night, Claire. he says as he begins wandering down the sidewalk. She stands there and watches him for a few moments as he disappears into the shadows the same way he just so happened to appear. Then she turns and makes her way into the inn.
Okay, I don't know if you guys saw me doing it. Little Sarah is a Buffy type monster killer. Oh, that's good. Detour would have been a U-turn. I just wanted to show you a quick little thing. You might have saw me do it once or twice. Best thing about the vector brush is you can make a line like that, and if you want that to come to like a really good point, but you're not sure where, you can kind of go like that, and then you triple click this little thing over here so that it's outlined in blue, and you just whoop, and they're gone. That's great. No more fussing to try and get rid of little things. Let me get rid of that. Don't need that. I have it set so that the eraser uses the same brush as the eraser. That makes it a look. It's hard to really quickly erase things, but it makes good, fine little negative space lines in the thing. Okay, so I'll click back to this, and then we will move on to chapter 3. Here we go.
Chapter 3. The next morning, Claire is awoken by the pitter-patter of little feet. As her child runs into the room and jumps onto the bed, Sarah asks,
"Where are we, Mama?"
"We had a little car trouble on the way home, and we needed to stop here for the night. Did you sleep well?" Claire asks. The little girl just smiles and nods. Claire stands up and walks over to the large window and drags the curtain from one side to the other. She hadn't been aware of it, but she's even in the same room as the last time she was here. She looks towards Sarah and says, "This is Ember Falls."
Ooh, it's so pretty.
Sarah says as she runs to the window to look at all the trees on the rolling hills beyond the field across from the end. "It sure does seem that way, doesn't it?" Claire says, leaning down to meet her daughter eye to eye. "Mama's gotta go check on the car so we can go home, which means I'm going to need you to stay here for a little while. Is that okay?"
In this room?
Sarah asks. "Well, no, silly. I'm sure that someone from the inn can keep you company, although I haven't actually asked yet. But I'm sure it'll be fine. Come on, let's go downstairs." She stands as she takes Sarah's hand and leads her to the door. As they reach the bottom of the stairs, another old familiar voice speaks loudly and with years of wisdom. 20 blasted years to the day. A curse'll do that to you." "Miss Green?" Claire says in pure surprise. "You bet your sweet patootie. 103 years old, and I'll outlive all of these mother of a little girl. Well, who do we have here?" "Miss Green, this is Sarah. I was hoping to speak to someone who—" "I'll keep an eye on her. We'll have cookies and ice cream for breakfast and tell everybody else what to do. Sound like fun?" Miss Green says, leaning over the desk. "Do you like to tell adults what to do all day?"
I do.
Sarah yells excitedly. "I don't think it'll be all day. All that's in the past, Miss Green." "Sure it is, Claire. Nothing to see here. Just like a young lady drawn back to a cursed town by no other means than pure coincidence," Miss Green says in her most sarcastic voice, as she helps Sarah get up and sit on the desk. Now you run along and fix our little town for another 20 years. I'll be here when you're done, won't we, little one? You know you're insufferable, right? Claire asks almost as sarcastically. I sure do. It's what keeps me so young and carefree.
But you're so old.
Well, I only look old. I'm just as young as you on the inside, Miss Green says with a chuckle.
You are? Wow.
Sarah responds. I can't thank you enough, Miss Green. I'll be back in no time. Claire turns and walks towards the door, hearing the elderly lady mumble something else under her breath. She turns back to look at Miss Green, who gives her a big wink. The kind that people who can't actually wink give you, where their whole face distorts, just to close one eye. Claire just shakes her head and heads out the door. It takes only a few minutes to reach the service station, and she moved through the town so quickly she didn't have to entertain any of the locals who might be thinking of her in the same way Miss Green does. She is hoping she can get out of town before too many know she was even here. But in a small town like this, everyone probably already knows. After a short conversation with the mechanic, she comes to the realization that she isn't going anywhere just yet. The clunking sound she heard was a bolt from the fan belt motor shearing off and puncturing its way through the radiator. The mechanic can get another one, but he'll have to drive to the local junkyard. That will take a few hours at least, and then another hour or two to strip the old one and make the repair. He says he can have it done by 5 p.m., the earliest. She isn't happy about it, but concedes because at least she knows she'll be on the road before nightfall. As she wanders back through the town to go back to the inn, she is suddenly surprised by Jenny as she jumps out from the diner entrance.
Claire?
She yells.
As if this day couldn't get any better. I missed you so much.
Claire is taken aback as the woman she barely knew for more than a few days 2 decades ago is already throwing her arms around her and squeezing her like she just returned home from the war. Jenny? Claire sheepishly says.
You remembered me. I'm so relieved. I thought this was going to be awkward.
The woman in the short skirt and apron says. Claire lets out without really trying to speak.
Oh, maybe you don't remember me. Well, that changes everything.
No. I remember you, Jenny. You just seem much happier than I remember you. You kind of took me off guard. You used to always be scared of your own shadow. I guess your boss with the attitude isn't around today.
Oh, that monster of a man. He isn't a problem anymore. I married him.
You married the man that made your life hell? Are you mad? Claire asks.
Yup, then I shot him. Don't you worry your little head, it was self-defense.
As Claire looks on in disbelief, she focuses her eyes past Jenny and at the patrons of the diner, who are all nodding vigorously in agreement with the self-defense claim. She figures that is a cue to take her at her word.
Oh, don't get me wrong. We both got everything we deserved. I got a business to help me succeed in life, 3 beautiful children. And he got lead poisoning. That didn't last too long.
Jenny says, laughing like a maniac. Claire scans the diner again and sees a lot more laughter and nods of agreement. She just shrugs her shoulders and returns her attention to Jenny. Jenny spins a tale of how she tried to find Claire a few times after she left, but only knew her first name. The knowledge that she was a journalist didn't even help. Claire follows suit and tells Jenny that she never wrote another story after she left. It just didn't seem right to do that after all that had happened. It all just seemed like too much and would only make her work harder than it already was. She tried to write a few puff pieces, but it just wasn't in her. So she just slowly drifted into retirement. She moved into the city, met a guy, and had a kid of her own. She never married and never quite meshed with the guy, which was fine, since he took off when he found out she got pregnant. He wasn't the nice guy she thought he was after all. Before they know it, 2 hours have passed and Claire is put at ease because Jenny has not mentioned a curse or fires, and especially not Jack, although she is now wondering about everything. It just seems too impossible that she was drawn back to this town exactly 20 years to the day, as well as the sheriff mentioning a new rash of fires in the area. Could Jack really be back? Or is this all just circumstantial evidence? Jenny notices that things in the diner are starting to back up, and the staff is seeming a bit annoyed, but not yet enough to intervene in her conversation. But she can read the writing on the walls.
Listen, I need to get back to this. I close up around 10 if you want to keep talking.
I'd love to, but I'm hoping to be back on the road before it gets dark. If it wasn't for the car, I'd be at home by now with no more worries than putting my little girl down for a nap, and I can't wait for that to be the worst of it again, Claire says, almost relieved that this conversation was coming to an end. Not that it was unpleasant. She just had a sudden feeling she needed to get back to Sarah. Jenny excuses herself and slips back into the diner as Claire waves goodbye and begins walking back toward the inn. Her mind races. Thoughts of Sarah and Jack flash across her mind's eye. The creature, no, the man she helped find peace once and for all, and the daughter she would give her life to protect. She has a sudden urge to see both of them, but she knows deep down inside, only Sarah matters at the moment. She keeps walking, and as she approaches the edge of the large field across the street from the inn, she has an unnerving feeling of being watched again. She snaps her head up and whips it around, but sees no one in any windows or doors or anywhere along the street. But at that very moment, from the corner of her eye, a glimmer. Something faintly lit, like a candle flame, but only for a second. As she points her attention towards it, she sees nothing in the tree line or the woods beyond. As she points her attention toward it, she sees nothing in the tree line or the woods beyond. But at that moment, a tiny trail of black smoke rises from the hills beyond the trees, and just as quickly, it's gone. She shakes it off and turns back to face the inn. She checks both ways and then quickly crosses the street, racing up the broad steps creaking under her feet and disappearing through the front door.
There are some longer chapters, don't worry. They get bigger and small. It depends on, what details you need to get out in the story. I think this is coming along pretty good. Yes, Jenny went crazy. She was always trouble, and it has a much more easy to listen to voice this time because it's not me going like this. Yes. Sarah is me modified. Jenny is a cloned voice where I said the lines, but then a program put the line as I said it in her voice. So that's a new feature I was able to use this time around. It's not perfect. It does not emote at all. So you can't be like, oh my God, because it won't do that. It'll just go, oh my God. Yeah. So some of the miscellaneous characters' voices may not seem to be emoting as much as they should, but it shouldn't hurt the story too much. Okay. Ready? Chapter 4. Okay, I'm caught up on chat, I think. Psychopath Sony mode either. Okay, let's go. Chapter 4.
Chapter 4. Later that night, Claire stews in a mild anger. She tosses and turns in her bed after receiving the mechanic's message that he could not find a radiator to fit her vehicle. The junkyard had suffered from some fire damage, and he would continue to hunt down the part, but this is not the cause of her uncomfort. It's early in the morning, but she can't seem to sleep. She had dozed off for a while, but something kept nagging at her in her dreams, as if something was calling to her. Unable to sleep, she gets up and walks to the window, draws the curtain open, and cracks the window a bit to let some of the chilly autumn air in. She takes a deep breath and tries to relax, but there is something there. The slight smell of smoke on the breeze. It is only then that she notices the flicker in the woods again. Not the faint light she saw earlier, but an actual fire in the distance. It's no ordinary fire, though. It is a long, streaking snake of a fire, moving in and out of the trees and making its way toward the town. She hesitates for a moment, then looks over to her sleeping daughter. She sleeps calmly and unknowing, like an angel without a care. Claire hopes that this wildfire won't make its way into the town, but she also can't shake the feeling that something more is going on. It can't be Jack. She put all that to rest. But then why was she pulled here? Why does she have that nagging feeling in the back of her mind? She doesn't want to leave her daughter here alone, but she has a dire need to find answers. She decides it couldn't hurt for her to just go outside on the front porch of the inn. She throws on some clothes and makes her way downstairs. The front desk is empty, but there is the slight sound of commotion coming from the kitchen area. There must be someone in there, but she isn't willing to make her presence known just yet. As she walks out onto the porch, the crisp air immediately chills her to the bone, and she wraps her jacket around herself tightly. The smoke on the horizon isn't quite visible at first, but it is blocking out the stars and makes it just visible enough if you're looking directly at it. What's worse is the eerie glow of fire snaking its way through the trees. A tug pulls at her heart and makes her want to enter the woods. She creeps quietly down the steps and across the street to the field, as if not under her own control, like a cartoon character chasing the scent of a fresh baked pie. It's as if she floats in the air with little to no resistance. She moves closer and closer as she enters into the field and slowly walks towards the glow, which seems to be getting brighter and closer with every passing moment. Her heavy boots make almost no noise, but she can feel the wetness of the morning dew seeping through to her legs, sending another wave of chills through her body. She makes it to the tree line, and the glowing light of the wildfire grows ever more present. She can almost feel the heat now, and it is more comforting than it should be. Fire destroys everything it touches. It slips through the trees and slithers its way toward the forest edge. Claire moves ever closer, step by step, as she approaches the tree line, and the fire does the same. Now, merely feet from the closest tree, the fire is visible, but still quite a few yards from her. The smell of smoke is thick, and her clothes begin to feel hot against her skin. The anticipation haunts her, and she feels its pull, dragging her in. Claire turns on her heels. "No!" she says loudly. Her thoughts are now completely devoid of the fire, the smoke, and everything else. Her only thought is of Sarah. She can't let this take her over again. She has a daughter now, and that is what matters. As if it were under her control, the fire immediately begins to dissipate back into the forest. The smoke in the air begins clearing, and the heat against her body fades as she walks away. She assumes it is just the distance she is putting between her and the forest edge. But had she turned back and looked for herself, she would have seen that the fire truly did retreat, leaving behind the only signs it had been there at all. On the two trees closest to where Claire had been standing, one to either side, are two long and slender handprints, seared into the bark of the trees, smoldering with the faint glow of burning embers. She can hear sirens coming from the distance. The fire department must have been called. and were on their way. No need for her to worry. The handprints behind her go unnoticed as Claire makes her way directly back to the inn, without even the slightest hint of turning back.
Okay. Of course the car can't get fixed. Of course. That's as staple as, the girl who can't seem to run a straight line without tripping. Yeah, you gotta have your little inside horror joke things. Now the song enters your head? Okay, that's weird. Okay. Still working on this. Trying to get some of this done. I don't really know if it's coming out the way I envisioned it, but we're getting somewhere. So, let's move right along.
Chapter 5. Sarah has woken earlier than her mother and has taken up a position on the bed beside her, staring directly into her mother's closed eyes. It's a position she takes a lot, and every time it seems to make her mother jump in fright. Her favorite practical joke. For a 6-year-old, she seems to have a darker sense of humor than most children her age. As if on cue, Claire slowly begins to open her eyes and jumps predictably, nearly falling out of the bed, which is smaller than her own at home. Sarah giggles her little head off, having jump-scared Mommy once again.
I am bored, Mama.
The little girl bellows. Claire brushes it off and picks up the receiver of the bedside phone on the nightstand and says, "How about we have some breakfast, and then we go check out the library? I'm sure we can find something to do there." Sarah nods as she is prone to do, and makes her way back to the TV, playing cartoons in the other room. Claire orders up some breakfast, and they enjoy their French toast over episodes of Transformers Energon and the Batman, Sarah's favorites. As they make their way to and into the library, Claire's eyes dart around in anticipation. Yes, she brought her daughter here to occupy their time, but she has an ulterior motive as well. She came to talk to the town historian. There seems to be children everywhere here, and soon enough Sarah has joined them in whatever activity they were involved with. Claire doesn't mind and makes her way toward the front desk. A young woman greets her excitedly while apologizing for the noise. It seems the library doubles as the daycare in town as well, but school should be starting soon, and that quiet would return. Quite a lot of kids. I don't remember this many kids the last time I came through here, Claire says, more to herself, but still out loud.
Oh, have you been to Ember Falls before? We had a bit of a baby boom some years back. Now you don't go a minute without hearing the sounds of children in this town, even the teens with no cares in the world. But I'm so sorry. Can I help you with something?
Well, I was hoping to speak with Miss Hargrove, Claire says, a little weary that she hasn't seen her yet.
Well, I'm Mrs. Hargrove.
The woman says. Oh, okay, Claire responds with a little confusion. I meant the town historian. A woman a bit more elderly than yourself?
Aha, that would be my grandmother. She's no longer here.
Claire's eyes widen in shock. Oh, I'm so sorry.
She's not dead, just retired.
The woman says with a slightly uncomfortable giggle.
She has been spending her days at home since the broken hip. The life of a librarian is surprisingly hard on the body, you know.
Again, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make things awkward. I just wanted to speak to her about some of the history around here.
Well, I've taken my grandmother's place for most things around here, including the town historian position, and I'm pretty well versed on the subject. Perhaps I could help?
the woman replies. Well, I'm kind of looking for some info on the things not always put in print. You know, lore and folktales. Your grandmother didn't just read it, she lived it. She was a great source of information when I met her 20 years ago, Claire says, still holding normal conversational tones, as she looked off to see how Sarah was getting along with the other children. So much so that she didn't notice the posture of the young woman completely change as she stands on a ladder, placing a book on a high shelf. She turns and looks at her for a moment, then scurries down the ladder and back to the desk, eyeing the woman in front of her like some kind of sitcom detective.
Are you Claire?
The woman asks nervously. Yes. I'm sorry, Claire turns her head back to the librarian to meet her excited yet puzzled look. Oh, geez, damn it.
You are. I'm Mira. I've heard a lot about you. Mostly from my grandmother, always weaving tall tales, but you're a real-life person.
Oh, come on. It can't be like that. Can it? Claire exclaims.
You have no idea. You are lore and folktales in this town.
Mira says, stunned.
I didn't actually think it was real.
To be honest, I've wondered that myself, Claire says over an awkward giggle. It seems like a lifetime ago, and all so unimaginable.
You know, I think my grandmother left something here for you. Give me a sec and I'll find it for you.
Mira says as she begins digging through the old wooden desk. Would it be okay for me to leave Sarah here to play with the other kids while I go check on my car at the mechanic? It looks like you can handle it.
Oh, of course you can. I'm sure the other kids will be overexcited to have someone new to play. Oh, here it is.
She stands up abruptly and thrusts her hand forward in Claire's direction. She's holding an old-looking envelope with a coffee ring stain on it from very long ago. Thank you very much. Claire takes the envelope and slides a finger along the top, tearing it open. Inside is a handwritten letter from the former Miss Hargrove. It reads,
My wandering Claire, I am writing this to you on the day of my retirement. I am no longer able to do my job to the best of my ability, but I am certain you will return again. I came across something that might pique your interest, but could not figure out how to contact you after you left town. For a woman who strolled in and saved a dying town from an age-old curse, most of us knew nearly anything about you, just your first name and the make of your vehicle, which the sheriff told me was a rental. Well, if you are reading this and I am still around, please collect the sheriff and come see me at your earliest convenience. I discovered a cabinet of old files you may be interested in and have made plans to give them to you or the sheriff if ever the need arose. I hope you are well and look forward to seeing you if or when you return. Sincerely, Town Historian, Mrs. Madeline Hargrove.
Claire tucks the letter into her pocket and returns her attention to Mira. You're sure she won't be too much trouble? She says.
Won't be a bother at all.
Mira says.
Your little Sarah is safe with me.
Excellent. I can't thank you enough. I won't be too long, and we'll be out of your hair in no time, Claire reiterates.
Again, it's no trouble. Take your time and say hello to the sheriff and my grandmother for me.
Mira Hargrove says with a smirk.
I've actually read that letter dozens of times, but don't worry, she never told me anything. And I tried. Heck, I pleaded.
Claire lightens up a little and flashes a big smile. I'm sure you did. You're a Hargrove. Mira just shrugs her shoulders and nods in a sign of pure agreement. As Claire walks out of the library, having said her goodbyes to Sarah, who couldn't be having more fun, she stops and thinks about what she should do next. Should she go check on the car, even though she is almost certain that another something has mysteriously come up? Or should she go and see the sheriff and Miss Hargrove? She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. The faint smell of smoke still present in the air does not relax her in any way. She opens her eyes and looks straight ahead to the sheriff's office. I hate this town, but I will admit, It has stirred my curiosity once again, she mutters to herself as she starts walking, but this time with a little more purpose. She practically speed walks to the sidewalk, and then, just as her foot hits the pavement of the road, a deputy's car races past, making a left just a ways down. She is immediately distracted. She spins her body in the direction the car turned toward, and that's when she sees it. Thick black smoke streaks up into the sky a few blocks over. She doesn't think, she just starts running. As she rounds the corner, she can see the car parked 2 blocks down. She is there in an instant, and is suddenly overwhelmed by the onslaught of sirens and engines, and all the commotion as firemen scream orders at one another. The roar of rushing water hitting the structure is just as deafening. She covers her ears and focuses her eyes on the structure. It's just an old house, abandoned to time itself, a relic of the past, left to rot many years ago. The firemen are taking control of the situation, and the sirens are switched off as order is maintained. Only the low rumble of the engines and their pumps break the silence now, but something else is in the sound, and just barely audible. It's then that she sees Sheriff Dalton waving to her from an empty lot next to the burning house. She walks toward him, just now noticing the heat the fire is putting out. She slightly shields her face from it as she approaches Dalton. "Where there's smoke," he says through an almost annoyed grimace. "There's fire," she replies. "There's Claire," he says as his eyes dart at her and she feels accused. "Do you think this is my fault?" No. Yes, a little, but mostly no," he says, snickering. "You really are just an innocent bystander in all this. Our town, our problems." As the fire seems to be dwindling, it seems to almost move, as if the wind has changed direction, even though she can't feel any wind. The flames seem almost to point directly at them. Between the empty lot and the burning house, they both notice as ripples of heat appear to form above a wooden fence, a puff of smoke, and then fire. The fence bursts into flames, and the heat level hitting them increases by a large amount. A small wisp of smoke appears on a patch of dead grass a foot or 2 closer, then another even closer, and just as quickly they are set ablaze. Dalton looks dead at Claire and sees the fear in her eyes, as this fire seems to make a beeline straight for her. He almost can't believe it. Sploosh! A wave of water from the group of firemen with a 2-inch hose drenched the area and squelched the fires and fence. The rest of the fire quickly gets handled after that, until just a few men search and spray the hot spots. As the 2 of them stand there and watch, not much is said for a long while. It's kind of awkward having practically blamed the woman and then seeing what happened. He isn't sure if he should even try to speak, but he sucks it up and goes for it. "Ma'am, Claire, we need to talk."
"I believe we do, Sheriff, but not here, obviously. Can you meet me at Miss Hargrove's house? She apparently has something to show the both of us."
"Is that so? Well, we wouldn't want to keep Madeline waiting. I'll head over there as soon as we clear this up. Still gotta do my job."
"That seems reasonable. I'll see you there."
Claire turns and heads off back into the heart of the town. As she reaches the corner and begins to cross the street, she sees a small glint of light from the forest edge at the end of the block, but pays it no mind. She quickens her pace and makes her way back toward the inn. After being so close to that fire, she wants to freshen up before any meeting with Miss Hargrove and the sheriff. As she passes through the next intersection, she catches the same glint of light out of the corner of her eye. She stops dead in the middle of the street and stares towards the tree line at the edge of town. Then she sees it again, and again. She begins walking toward it. She gets closer and catches it once more. Almost there now, she steps slowly into the shadows of the trees before her, and her vision cuts through the glare of the sunny day. It's then she sees a bunch of kids taking off running into the woods. They scatter like bugs,
and she can smell smoke and also something chemical-like. Lighter fluid, most likely. A small patch of leaves at the base of a tree smolder, and she rushes to it, stomping it out. She swings around to face into the woods. The sounds of teenagers running through the overgrowth and snapping twigs fades into the distance, and she is fuming. But insanity grabs a hold of her, and she completely loses it. A small chuckle, then a guffaw, then she just starts cackling like a crazy woman. She can't help herself. All this worry, all this anxiety she's been causing herself, and it really was just a bunch of kids. She is nearly breathless as she slumps down next to the large tree. As she catches her breath and recovers, she relaxes, and before she knows it, quite some time has passed. This sudden realization throws her into overdrive. "Damn it! I have to get to Miss Hargrove's," she says as she dusts herself off and starts heading down the road. Claire is nearly out of breath again as she reaches the old Victorian-style house on the corner. She bolts up the walkway, and as she reaches out to ring the doorbell, the door swings open. Sheriff Dalton stands there in the doorway, his face wrinkled in frustration.
"Well, you took your sweet time, didn't you?"
Dalton says directly. "I'm so sorry," Claire responds. "I saw something I needed to, well, investigate, and I think you might be right about those teens. I caught a small group of them trying to set a fire right on the edge of town, not far from the fire earlier."
"Blasted kids,"
Dalton exclaims.
"That old house was an eyesore, but they're putting lives at risk. For what? A practical joke? To get the townsfolks all riled up?"
he says with a grimaced face. He waves her in, and they enter the parlor, where Miss Hargrove is waiting.
So she does return. I half thought the sheriff was playing games with me.
Miss Hargrove says in a soft and fading voice.
As if by destiny, you grace us once again with your presence.
Claire looks at her in disbelief. "I wouldn't go that far, Miss Hargrove."
You should, my dear. You very much should. I have something to tell you both. After you left town, I kept digging for more information about the case that led to the strange events that have continued until this day.
"We put a rest to all that. It's just kids being kids. I saw it with my own eyes," Claire interrupts.
Oh, but it isn't.
Miss Hargrove leans her frail old body forward.
In the basement of the library, I found an old cabinet tucked in an alcove behind our current filing system when we were having some work done. In it were files dating back to the time of Jack's case. It wasn't just the lawyers and witnesses that railroaded poor Jack. There was a jury, too. Paid off by the wealthy to lie on the stand, or so the original reporter said. He couldn't prove it, but all the signs were there. Families of the jury suddenly all seemed to be prospering more than they ever had, and the reporter of the time could only put the pieces together. But when his article went to print, it had been edited and the jurors' names were removed. You helped Jack's soul find only a temporary peace, and I'm afraid his very being is right now being pulled back into our realm, back to finish what he started. There will be more fires and many more deaths before this is all over.
"Can I see these files?" Claire asks.
My letter to you had been in that library for a very long time. I sent what I had to Sheriff Dalton a couple of years ago.
Dalton nods to show agreement. She continues.
He has everything I had, including the original handwritten article. If Jack is ever to find real peace, he'll be coming for them again. With every passing day, he is pulled closer and closer. Soon, he'll be powerful enough to break through the barrier from his realm to ours.
"I'm not convinced of all that just yet. Let's say you're right. Surely I can calm him as I did before," Claire interjects.
You might, but the realm in which Jack exists is full of torment and shame. His mind was broken long ago, and there is no telling if he will even recognize you or feel the peace you gave him any longer. He may not have ever had the ability to even retain it at all. Like a weapon used to inflict pain and vengeance, I believe that you just happened to break through the veil at just the right moment after he had completed his current objective. When he took the spirit of Gregory Ashcroft, his connection to that realm was disconnected for just a brief moment, and you helped him to merely return to his realm early. You gave him just enough peace to leave this realm, but by no means has he finished his quest.
Claire ponders all she has heard, and she isn't positive, but she thinks she buys it. How can you know all this? How do you know you're right?
I've seen many things over the years, and my family has been keeping this town's history for longer than that. The reporter that wrote that original article was of course a relative of the sheriff here, if you recall, as well as a juror, and I understand the facts to be true. But I can't really explain how I know about Jack's motivations. I just feel it and always have.
Miss Hargrove tells Claire as she sits back and settles deeply into her rocking chair.
This has taken it out of me. I'm afraid I can't be more helpful than being a messenger, but hopefully you'll find what you need. Dalton will help you, I'm sure.
I will indeed, ma'am.
Dalton says in his gravelly but strong voice, and Claire still can't believe just how strong and sturdy his presence is, given his age. The frail old woman puts her head back and closes her eyes, a sure sign she has said what she needed to and has nothing else to add. Dalton puts his hand on Claire's shoulder and snaps her out of her own thoughts. He motions to the door, and they both quietly make their way out of the charming home of Miss Hargrove.
I've read most of what she sent over, but aside from a few more family names, I didn't get much out of it at all. The majority of these families have long since moved away or simply disappeared. However, a couple of them do still live in town, and they're pretty powerful people in these parts, which adds up if you believe the old lady.
Claire slides him a side-eye as she isn't much older than he is. I'd like to see those files for myself, if that wouldn't be a bother.
Not at all. I have them at my office. I can take you over there if you want,
Dalton replies. Claire is suddenly aware of the sun as it has begun its approach towards setting. I'd love to, Sheriff, but it's getting late and I really should go and collect Sarah from the library. If you could drop me there, that would be great.
Happy to oblige,
Dalton says as they get into his old beat-up sheriff's pickup and drive down the block, the slowly setting sun at their backs.
She's not Jack's mother. Jack was put to death by being wrongfully accused, blah, 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 like hundreds of years ago. But it's good to see you thinking about it. Ah, you would think it would be 12, but this is way back in the past. It probably wasn't. It was probably just a handful of townsfolk. Okay. So, I'm basically doing mostly just inking right now. I'm trying to get the darks in. This thing is not as easy to control at this size as I was hoping it would be. It has, like, I had thought about using, it has a pretty good watercolor brush that, like, really makes, I don't even know how to say it. It has a good amount of whoosh for a digital thing. See if I can even find it. I think it's in this one. Watercolor. you do watercolor and then pick a color, and it's like, why are you still black? Because I didn't actually pick the color. Okay. And it's like, it's got a little bit of, it spreads out a little. And then you can tap something. I forget what it is you can tap, but you can turn it into like pure water, and then, is it that button? No. Yeah, so like, you can just make it flow. That's kind of cool. Alright, let me get rid of that. I'm gonna have to make that bigger. Get rid of all that nonsense. Go back to this, back to black. Okay, make sure I'm good. Okay, ready? Shall we continue? Love the angular job blended with the round pumpkin head. Yeah. I think I understand what you mean. Hope he kept those papers in a firebox. Townsfolk with pitchforks and torches, by the sounds of it. Yeah. Definitely railroaded poor little Jack. Okay. Ready? Here we go.
Chapter 6. Claire pushes open the door to the library and is surprised to hear a deafening silence. The other kids must have been picked up and whisked away already. As she enters, she sees Mira behind the desk with 2 other assistants, and Mira motions her to be quiet. Not because it's a library, but because Sarah is sound asleep on a couch off in the corner. As she approaches, the 2 assistants look a little uncomfortable and proceed to walk away, speaking in hushed tones as they do. It sets Claire a little on edge as she saunters over to the desk. "Is everything okay?" Claire asks hesitantly. She doesn't want to impose on any library or town drama. Do libraries have drama, she contemplates?
Oh, everything is fine now. Nothing to worry about, really, but there was a bit of an incident with the other children.
Mira recalls. What? What happened? Did Sarah get hurt? Mira quickly interrupts. Oh, what a relief. I thought Sarah was involved, Claire says with a deep exhale.
Oh, she was involved all right. She was the aggressor.
What? She has never done anything like that. Not with any kids. I hope no one was hurt, says Claire as her posture stiffens once again. What could have caused her to have an outburst like this?
Sorry, I don't have another word for it. She was aiming for those kids. 3 of them, to be precise. They didn't actually get hit by anything, but fell as they tried to hide or get out of the way. I assume that maybe they started teasing her, not knowing who she was, but that's just a guess. She did say some weird things after, but I couldn't make heads or tails of it. I think she was just too upset to explain in the way an adult could understand. Maybe you'll have better luck now that she's rested and has calmed down.
Mira seems to ramble on. Claire apologizes for the trouble and assures her that this would be the first and last time something like this would happen. She collects the napping child and throws her over her shoulder. She stirs a little and Claire shushes her back to sleep. She continues to apologize as she makes her way to the door. Mira follows closely behind.
She is always welcome here. We'll just have to keep a closer eye on the other children next time,
Mira says and closes the door behind Claire. Back at the inn, Claire sits quietly staring out of the large bay window at the woods beyond the field. The darkness highlighted by the stars on the horizon and a hint of soft moonlight. A lot of thoughts race through her mind. The kids in the woods, Sarah's outburst at the library, the files she hasn't looked at yet, and of course, Jack. She is fully lost in her thoughts when the freshly awakened Sarah shuffles her little feet into the room and beside her. Sarah tugs at her robe and startles Claire back into the present. As she talks to Sarah, she asks her what happened at the library by slowly getting to the point. Sarah says she was playing with all her new friends and that something in the fireplace popped loudly and it scared her. She was looking at it and she heard something else. Claire prods a little deeper and her daughter finally gives a more clear answer. She heard an angry man. From where? She asks.
From the fire.
Sarah says very convincingly. From the fire, you say? The angry man told her to go, but she didn't want to, and that was when the angry man yelled at her. She heard the voice yell,
Go! Leave now!
but the other kids didn't hear it. They said she was making it up and she doesn't know why, but she just got so very angry too. It was probably a lot for a 6-year-old to handle, let alone understand. She cuddles and holds the small child as she drifts back to sleep, and Claire wonders if it was her imagination. Or was it Jack? If Jack truly was back, was he trying to protect her? Maybe he does remember some things. Or maybe he just senses she isn't a threat to him. Maybe she has to stop delaying the inevitable and start taking this seriously. She can't help but feel like it really is something she's going to have to deal with as she tucks Sarah back into bed and gives her a kiss on the forehead. Claire is visibly upset, but not with Sarah, at the whole situation. She knows she felt the draw to this place, to this town, and to the woods, but not nearly as strong as she remembers it. Maybe she has rejuvenated the sense of urgency she had the last time, out of thin air. Maybe all the doubt she had over the years had made it all seem like more. Maybe it was just her journalistic skills that made it all so exciting the first time around. Now, though, she can't shake the feeling that maybe she doesn't feel it as much, because it's possible that Sarah is feeling it too. But she hopes she is wrong. Sarah is just too young for all this. Just too innocent. She heads off to her own bed, and as she starts to drift off into sleep, she plans for the coming day. There'll be plenty of time tomorrow for those files the sheriff has, but for now, she just wants some rest.
Okay, I have to apologize. I'm pretty sure in the conversation between Claire and Mira, there was one line that somehow was not there. And I can't even think of what it is at the moment. So I apologize. But it didn't change the story. It just left one little thing out. I don't know. Something the pattern of them going back and forth had a space in it that I didn't like, and I think it's because a small line was missing. So when I put it all together, I'll eventually put that line back in. Because I don't know why it's not there. Okay. We're still inking. We're already an hour and 20 minutes into this. Probably an hour into the story. The story is still quite a bit left, so let's keep going. You'll have to buy the book to learn the listening. Well, it's written. I basically just wrote it and then just read it. So it already exists. I can actually. This is my notebook. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. So my This is how I started writing it. You probably can't really see that. But it started off as notes, just what I wanted to happen. And as it went, it just got longer and longer and longer until I got to about here. And then I was like, oh man, I need to start typing this out and actually making it a story. That was in probably July. So, yeah. But I prefer to write by hand, at least at first. The other story is also in there, and it's mostly by hand too. It should definitely be in print. Maybe one day. Old school with a notebook. Yep, that's how I do it. Okay, let's keep going. Ready? Here we go.
Chapter 7. The next morning, Claire leaves Sarah with Miss Green once again. She is better off here than around the other kids again. Maybe she'll be safer and more closely watched at the inn. Besides, she likes Miss Green. She leaves and makes her way to the sheriff's office in search of Dalton and the files she has yet to investigate. She feels a surge of priority as she crosses the street. Her old profession is sinking its teeth into her. Not since she left had she even thought about the job, and how it made her feel to just not know everything, and the want of needing more answers. This is how she remembers it from years ago, and with a new sense of eagerness, she grabs hold of the office door and makes her way inside.
Morning, ma'am. Can I help you?
The deputy manning the counter in the lobby asks her as she approaches. I was hoping to see Sheriff Dalton. He has some files I'd like to look over.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but he isn't in yet. You can wait in his office if you'd like. He should be here any moment,
he says in a comforting and sincere voice. Claire just nods and heads in the direction he pointed. She walks into the office and sees it has changed quite a bit, but still has the same layout. Desk in the middle, filing cabinets on the left, gun safe on the right. He must have become an avid fisherman over the last 2 decades, as there are way more fish on the wall than she remembers. As she scans the office, she notices that the deputy is standing in the doorway. She makes small talk with him as she continues to take in her surroundings. She is taken aback by a large frame on one wall. Dalton has enlarged and displayed the journal entry his ancestor wrote all that time ago, the one with all the names. She scans down it, remembering just how intense the feeling of finding this list made her feel. It really pulled everything together. Her eyes dance across the large page and admire the formal handwriting of yesteryear. And just as she gets to Jeremiah Dalton's name, the sheriff walks in behind her.
Young Miss Claire, I didn't expect you so early.
Just thought I'd get cracking on those files Miss Hargrove seemed adamant that I would find something useful in, Claire says.
Well, they're over there on the corner table.
The sheriff points off behind her. Claire spins in place and sees the pile of files and papers on the small table. She walks over and sits on the couch, pulling the pile into her lap. Within seconds, she is rifling through them and speed reading everything, looking for that thing that stands out. While she shuffles the papers around, she asks Dalton if he really thinks that Jack has returned. The sheriff puts her mind at ease with his charming ways and refers back to the kids she saw in the woods. He suggests she doesn't go crazy with the whole thing, but Claire can't help but feel he is holding something back. He just might not be telling her everything. A few hours later, Claire has gone through the pile multiple times, but she remembers. Miss Hargrove mentioned a handwritten article about the case, but it doesn't seem to be there. She asks the sheriff if he remembers seeing it.
I can't say that I do. I didn't really go through it all. I was hoping it was all going to be unnecessary, he says. To tell you the truth, I kind of forgot about them until I saw you walking down Main Street the other night.
I don't blame you. No one wants this kind of thing to be real. Hell, I don't want it to be real. She looks over toward the large framed journal entry again. For someone that isn't interested, you sure do like the decor, she says, motioning to the large page. Dalton looks up from his paperwork and smiles a soft smile.
Just keeping history alive, I guess. My family didn't reminisce about the past. Maybe that's why I never believed in all this. Maybe my family was just trying to forget, and wishful thinking had them figuring they were safe. But I also wonder if they had been dealing with it for all those years, since it seems to happen over and over again.
All valid points, Claire responds. I really would like to see that article, though.
I'm not sure she actually gave it to me, but I think she did. It'll turn up sooner or later. I'll have my deputy scour the office for it. I think I'd like to see it too.
The sheriff sits back in his chair and folds his arms up behind his head.
Was there anything in the files you found useful?
Not much, I'm afraid. A few tidbits about the town, the people, and of course Jack, but nothing that gives any new information aside from some stories of strange fires throughout the past. It's all pretty normal stuff. I'm beginning to wonder if this is all a wild goose chase. I mean, if Ashcroft was the last of the families residing in town, what could possibly be bringing him back? The sheriff brings his arms down and rests them on his desk.
You don't suppose that there are others out there that were involved, do you?
I couldn't even begin to make that assumption. Miss Hargrove mentioned that this missing article mentioned jurors, but not even your framed piece of history mentioned them. It does lead me to believe that someone is still out there. Could be one family, or 20. We have no way of knowing.
I guess you're right. I'm sure something will turn up. Or we'll just have to face this thing blind,
he says as he stares at the framed paper again. Claire is still sensing that she's not getting the full story. But why? Is the sheriff protecting someone? Or maybe even himself? Well, I've gleaned everything I can from this stuff. I wish I had more to go on, but sometimes you just don't know what you're looking for until it bites you in the ass. The sheriff lets out a loud, belting laugh.
Ha ha ha! Ain't that the truth?
The sheriff calls in his deputy and asks him to see her out. He escorts her to the lobby and then to the door. Claire decides that she needs to clear her mind, and she just starts walking. Before she knows it, she is halfway up the hill heading out of town, and standing right near the welcome sign. She can't remember how long she has been walking for, but she knows it's been hours. She must have circled the town twice. She turns back to face the tiny hamlet. It's so quaint and charming. You would never know that something like this was going on for years. She wonders if there are any other towns out there, holding deep dark secrets from the past, or if this town is one in a million. She notices the hour for the first time in a while. Where has the day gone? A few moments later, she is heading back up Main Street on her way back to the inn. As she gets closer, she becomes aware of a group of people in the street and on the edge of the field. They seem to be alarmed by something, and as she reaches the end of the building before the field, she finally sees what is alarming the townsfolk. A large streak of fire snakes its way through the woods. She knows immediately that it isn't a wildfire. It has no signs of backburn and didn't spread to where it is. She watches for a moment as it continues to stretch out through the hills, the trailing end fading as it does. It's not igniting the brush, it just moves through the trees. Is this really Jack? Is this the first time the evidence points that way? She smells the smoke in the air and has been listening to the mumbling crowd, but they must be dispersing as they have been growing quieter and quieter. When she realizes she can no longer hear them at all, she turns to look at them. What the hell? She wonders, as she notices she isn't at the edge of the field, but she is now standing at the edge of the woods. She doesn't remember walking over here. She was pulled. As if in a trance, she walked clear across the field to the tree line. The crowd behind her may not have been murmuring about the fire, but about the crazy woman walking straight at it. She can see a few of them motioning for her to return. She looks deep into the forest and then back toward the inn. She knows she should check in on her daughter, but also that she is being well cared for. This sense of wonder and intrigue has fully grabbed hold of her now. She turns toward the woods and feels it pulling at her. Her heart races and she can't resist. She lifts her trembling foot and steps into the forest.
Definitely super scary. Yep, that's my voice overlaid like 5 or 6 times. First I went like, go. Then I went, go. Then I went, go. And I just kept doing it until it sounded really, really creepy. There's even a singing bass. A little Billy Bass up on the wall. Is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Okay. So, release each year as its own novella. I didn't see that one before. Not a bad idea. Okay, so, we're going into here. Chapter 8. Yeah, chapter 8. Okay, ready? We're getting it.
Chapter 8. Claire walks with purpose as she winds through the trees, going deeper and deeper into the woods. If Jack was out there and had been inside her daughter's mind, yelling at her to leave, she wanted answers. She wanted to know why. She could see the fire from quite a distance away. The fire spreads in a long, snaking column, smaller to one side and larger to the other, but always fading away. She chooses to head towards the thinner end, as she figures that must be the epicenter of the fire. She moves through the trees with great agility, like a possessed ninja weaving in and out of the trees. As she draws closer and closer to the source, the flames begin to flicker and fade even faster. She wonders if it is Jack and if he is getting away. She pushes herself forward with all her might, her breath heavy and her heart beating out of her chest. Then suddenly, the fire just disappears, like it had never been there. But not for long. She breaches the trees into a clearing and stumbles onto a sight that is all too familiar. This is no ordinary clearing in the woods. A circle of scorched earth is laid out before her. At its center is a 30-foot wide circle of earth and ash in a pattern like a maze in a children's book. Rounded mounds of ash form the framework, and the sunken part that makes the pathways glow red with an intense heat. She scans the area. She knows this is Jack's work, but there is no sign of him. At her wit's end, she gets weak in the knees. Her whole body hurts from the run, and it is all just so overwhelming. She drops to her knees, her head and shoulders hung low in defeat. She thought this was it. Claire thinks about the last time she was thrust into this position, and about all that has happened since then. Her life flashes before her eyes, and she feels a calmness wash over her. She feels her emotions so strongly as she re-experiences the birth of Sarah, and she sobs a little as she thinks about the little girl who seems so frightened by the voice from the fire, yelling at her to go and to leave. She summons all her strength and lifts her gaze back to the center of the ashen maze that lies just feet in front of her. "Why?" she screams into the void. The ground rumbles, and the glow from the illuminated pattern on the ground pulses brighter, hotter, and faster. The pulsing heat continues to grow and speed up until it's so bright and hot that Claire scrambles backward toward the trees. At the center of the circular pattern, A small flame sparks to life, and one by one, it moves outward through the pattern, moving closer to the outer edge. A circle that grows wider in every direction, and when it reaches the edge, there is another sudden flash as fire engulfs the circle. And again, in the very center, something emerges. Like a plant emerging from the soil in spring, a small charred black thing emerges from the ground. It grows upward and branches out like a tree reaching out for the sun. It grows straight up into the air that ripples with heat as tendrils of smoke dance about. She watches as another one begins to grow from the same spot. Just as quickly, it rises up into the sky until the two stalked charred structures stand like twin silhouettes against the slowly darkening sky. And that's when she notices it. They aren't charred trees, but Jack's long, sleek, skeletal arms. The spiky fingers spread, and the two arms separate and begin to bend toward her. As the large hands smash into the ground, the ash scatters into the wind, and the pattern is all but destroyed, as Jack's whitish, dried-out pumpkin head emerges, and he climbs his way into our realm, pulling himself into existence. Jack is back. Claire scrambles backward away from him until her back connects with a tree at the tree line. Another circle of fire has grown through the trees and behind her. She is trapped between the two. The heat becomes so intense that the leaves on the tree above her are drying and falling from the trees, bursting into flames as they hit the earth before her. This isn't the same. Jack is larger this time, 14 or maybe 15 feet tall if he wasn't positioned on all fours. He's even more black and spiky, more on fire, and certainly more ominous. She remembers never really being scared of him, but at this moment she truly is. Something isn't right. It's all so different. Jack stares directly at her and into her very being. When in the past, it was like she wasn't even there. He looked through her the last time, up until those final moments when he disappeared for good. She recalls it well. He looked through her, not at her. This time he is fixed on her. He leans in, and the heat gets so unbearable that Claire raises her arms to shield her face. He breaks the edge of the circle, coming closer to Claire, and she sinks into her own thoughts. She considers that this might be the end of her story, and all of her thoughts focus at one point. Sarah. She wonders who is going to take care of her when she is gone. Who is caring for her now when she should be? Why wasn't she with her now? Jack shifts his gaze away from her, but she doesn't notice him looking toward the town. He pulls back and stretches his enormous skeletal frame as he stands up, and Claire feels the heat simply dissipate. She pulls her arms back and reveals Jack standing in all his glory. Her neck strains looking up at him, and he looks away from her out into the woods. He isn't facing Ember Falls, and there is an eerie quiet as he raises his long, slender arm and points it into the distance. The overcast sky parts in the direction he points, and the bluish-black sky of twilight coming through spreads into the distance, pointing the way. But to what? Not back toward the town like last time, but away from it. He slowly swings his head back towards her as his arm comes to rest at his side, and the fire behind her opens like a door to freedom. She stands immediately, turns, and runs for the trail. She's not just scared, she's furious. Not at Jack, but at herself, for forgetting what is most important to her. She runs like her life might actually depend on it, back through the woods and to a trail, and then straight back into town, back to her daughter. back to Sarah. As Claire sprints through the woods, she can see the trees thinning as she comes closer to the field at the edge of town. She suddenly smells smoke, but not the woodsy campfire type she was accustomed to. It's more like a house fire, the smell of wood and plastic and everything else we cram into all of our homes. She looks across the field at the inn and up to the large window she was staring out of just last night, and inside that window, a room fully succumbed to a blazing inferno. The windows crack and explode with a flash of fire and smoke as glass rains down on the street below.
Okay. Run, Claire, run. Run, Forrest. Jack's babies. Jack has no babies. Well, that's Jack's theme from the first one, so I continue to use that. I don't want to overuse the song. And it's getting warm in here because this machine is running 3 monitors. Sip of my drink. Not sponsored, so they will not appear on screen. If you're smart, you'll figure it out. Okay. The song is ingrained in your brain now. It's getting warm because Jack is behind you. Oh no! Something I forgot to mention in the beginning. Last year's format was 8 chapters, credits, epilogue. This story has spoilers in the epilogue. So the credits have spoilers for the epilogue. So the credits will be the last thing this year. It'll go the 16 chapters, then the epilogue. Okay? We're getting into it. That was chapter 7. Right? I knew this was going to happen. Was that 7 or was that 8? Oh no. Someone help me out. One of you has to know. I think it was 7. Okay. I think so too. I'll start it, and if it's wrong, Boo Peep thinks it was 8. Oh no. I'll start 8, and if it's wrong, I'll stop it and go to the next one.
Chapter 8. Claire walks with purpose as she winds through the trees, going deeper and deeper into the woods. If Jack was out there and had been inside her daughter's mind, yelling at her.
Definitely was an 8, right? Okay. You didn't know there would be a test. That was 8. Yeah. Okay. 9.
Chapter 9. Claire flies across the field in a hurried sprint, scanning the people outside. She spies Miss Green, who is strangely in a wheelchair, with a few of her employees standing about, but no sign of Sarah. Her heart sinks as Miss Green sees her in return. She taps the young woman next to her and motions towards Claire. She immediately rushes to intercept the distraught woman.
She's fine. She's fine.
The young woman says abruptly with a calming confidence.
I was with her. She came out of her room and said she smelled something funny. I checked and I didn't like it, so I brought her downstairs with me.
Where is she? Claire questions her. The sense of worry, and even more so now, the guilt, is diminishing. Miss Green rolls over in the wheelchair.
She's with Dalton. He took her over to the diner, my dear. Said something about too much ruckus for a child and getting ice cream or something.
Claire takes off running without hesitation and dashes for the diner. She crosses the street and runs down the sidewalk, and as she reaches out for the door to the diner, she sees inside. Sarah is sitting on the counter, perfectly unharmed. Sheriff Dalton is spooning strawberry ice cream up and into her mouth, and she is having the time of her life. Jenny and Deputy Oliver are near hysterical behind the large counter. All of them are having a ball in what Claire thought was going to be the worst moment in her life, and everything is perfectly fine. Claire pushes the door open and the small bell above the door chimes, but only a little bit. She catches it with the door. It does, however, catch the attention of all of them.
Come on in here, Claire. Nothing to fuss over,
Dalton says, but Claire bursts into tears anyway and runs across the diner, scooping up Sarah in her arms. She holds her so close and tight like she never wants to let go again. The little girl wiggles in her grasp, but she isn't going anywhere.
Stop being weird, Mama,
she says in a soft little voice almost deprived of air. The sheriff puts his arm on her shoulder and Claire eases up a bit. She leans back and loosens her grip as she pulls Sarah in front of her and looks deeply into her eyes.
I don't think that's possible around here,
Claire says back. Jenny and Dalton both let out a small laugh, and Dalton says,
Not around here. Not with your mama in town,
he says, laughing a bit more and reaching out to tickle the little girl's belly. Sarah reacts and giggles, that sweet little laugh of a child. He lifts her from Claire's arms and sits her on a stool in front of the counter. He nods to Jenny, and Jenny takes over tending to the child. He pulls Claire aside and explains that this was all a freak accident. Faulty wiring in a chandelier, nothing more. Whatever this was, he's sure it wasn't him. Claire too fesses up. She saw Jack, like all of him, in the woods, and she describes how he was so much bigger, so much scarier than she remembered. She tells him that it didn't seem like he came here on his own, but more like she conjured him into being. She thinks she might have let him out, let him back into the world. He might have been pulled back, or he could still be out there. She has no idea. She ran away at her first chance. This time, she was scared. Sheriff Dalton looks almost relieved, which throws Claire for a loop, but he explains,
I was afraid that something like this might happen. A very predominant family just came back into town after being away for a very long time. That family moved away years before you came to Ember Falls the first time. They're trying to get back to their roots, or so they said.
Claire's jaw drops, and she asks him very bluntly,
Are they from the list? Is it a family we know?
They are. I didn't want to tell you at first, because I was hoping it was all coincidence. But I'm thinking they may have triggered something,
Dalton says in a hushed tone.
Let's keep this between us for now, shall we? The town isn't on edge this time around, but I'd like to keep the craziness at bay as long as possible.
Claire shakes her head in agreement and looks back toward the others. Jenny has all of Sarah's attention on her, and maybe that young deputy's too. That woman has a way with children. She does have 3 of her own, after all. As the duo turns to rejoin the others, a small man in dirty clothes approaches. It's the mechanic from the service station down the road.
Excuse me, Sheriff. Miss, I just wanted to tell you about your vehicle,
he says a little nervously.
Let me guess. Lightning struck and it burned up. Or a bolt rusted and the engine fell right out,
Claire says in the most sarcastic way she can muster. He is caught off guard by her comments.
No, ma'am. She's good to go. You can leave whenever you're ready.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I had one hell of a week so far, and it's all been a bit much. I didn't mean to be rude. How much do I owe you, sir?
Absolutely nothing, ma'am. The sheriff already took care of it.
Claire shoots a look at Dalton, who just tips his hat at her. She turns her attention back to the mechanic. Well, sir, I thank you again, and I'll be in to get it first thing in the morning, if that's okay. He nods and makes his way past her to the door. Claire returns to the others. She looks and feels exhausted, as all the events of the day are starting to take their toll. She sits on a stool between Sarah and Jenny. Well, my car's fixed, but my accommodations are on fire, so... She trails off. Sarah turns unexpectedly.
Are we going to sleep in the car?
She says, giggling.
That sounds terrible and cold. You don't want to do that.
Jenny says.
I'd offer to house you, but my kids are a force of nature you do not want to face head on, not even on your best day.
She says laughingly.
Nonsense,
Dalton chimes in.
Tonight, you're both staying with me. I'll hear nothing else about it.
He once again takes the little girl in his arms.
Do you like a little bed or a big bed?
Sarah responds gleefully.
A big bed.
Well, a big bed it'll be. How about we get you in it?
He says softly. She just nods and lays her head on his shoulder. She's really taking a liking to him. Neither of them are surprised when she is fast asleep before they even reach his pickup. Claire takes her from him and he opens the door for her. She slides into the seat with her daughter in her arms. Sarah stirs a little, but stays asleep. The sheriff walks around the truck and gets in as well. He starts the engine and they drive off into the night. A short time later, they arrive at Sheriff Dalton's house and make their way inside. Claire can't help but marvel at the size of it. A fairly large house for a single old man with no immediate family. As they walk in the front door, Dalton quickly approaches a door to a room off on the side of the hallway. He closes the door, inserts a key into it, and locks it tight. He turns back to Claire and tells her that it's his man cave and the gun room, and he wouldn't want any accidents happening while they are here. So, better to lock it than risk anything. Claire agrees. They take Sarah to the second floor and put her to rest in Dalton's massive bed. All tucked in, they retreat back down to the main floor, and Dalton shows Claire into a spare bedroom, where she unloads her and her kids' things. It isn't much, since most of their belongings were in the hotel room, but they still have some bags in the car which they can get tomorrow. They retire into the living room, and Dalton makes them a pot of coffee. As they sit and relax, they discuss all that has happened so far. All these events that brought her to the town, and everything that has happened since. Claire recalls the moment in the woods when she screamed, "Why?" and that seemed to let or even pull Jack through some kind of portal, an ashen ring of fire in some kind of maze pattern. The sheriff's eyebrow raises, and Claire doesn't hesitate to notice. She asks him about it, and he explains that another family used to live in the town and used something like that as their family crest. The Livingstones used a circular maze that they said was to exemplify perseverance in the face of great odds. But they were also a well-to-do family, so they never had to struggle a day in their lives. Of course, a lot of people back then claimed that Old Lady Livingstone was a witch, but nothing that anyone could ever prove, of course. They talk well into the night and even reminisce about what the town was like when Dalton was a kid. How he remembers the town and the families that lived there. Most were just normal folk, but there was always a bunch of well-off families that were in constant competition with each other. They all had businesses that existed outside of Ember Falls, but they chose to live here in the quaint and quiet town. Over the years, some have moved away, and some have stayed. And just recently, the Livingstones had returned, so there has to be some connection there. Claire asks the sheriff if they were on the original list, and he explains that they aren't. And in fact, no one on the list is still here, or have any living family members to come back. Claire expresses her concern over that missing article from Miss Hargrove's files, and wonders if maybe finding it would shed some light on the situation. Dalton agrees that they need to find it, and maybe talk to the Livingstones to see if they can piece anything together. With that, they realize the time and decide to get some sleep. Claire checks on Sarah and then returns to her assigned room and crawls into the cozy bed. She thinks about all the information she has and everything she's missing too, and as sleep crawls its way into her mind, she drifts off into a peaceful slumber.
Make sure I keep track. I remember this. Oh, we're getting there, Clark. Muscles, bone, kind. No, you'll see. We gotta get the color, which is we're getting there. Once I finish off a few more spots, we'll be getting there. Okay, it's not Sarah. It's Sera. Sarah. That's her name. It's key. You would have known that if you were reading it. But maybe my inability to talk the way I used to might have something to do with that. Sarah. Okay, chapter 10.
Chapter 10. The next morning, the sheriff drops Claire off at the inn, which appears to be open, although her room is boarded up from the outside. She enters the inn to find that Miss Green is the only one there, and she is manning the desk, no longer in the wheelchair. "Are you all right? I thought you were in a chair last night."
Oh, that was just the staff being overcautious. They were afraid my old legs wouldn't get me out fast enough. Bunch of worrywarts, I tell ya.
Miss Green joyfully tells her. "Well, that's good to know, and great that you're still open."
"Oh, we're not open, and I'm glad you came by. The fire inspector said we have to cancel all bookings and keep everyone out until they've investigated. And the electrician said it would be best if we only had power in this room and the kitchen for now. So I'm afraid we're closed,"
Miss Green says, sliding off of her stool and coming around the desk.
"I forgot to tell you last night, but the housekeeper that was sitting with Sarah managed to save some of your belongings. It isn't much, though. Just your purse, Sarah's backpack, and your day bag for the child."
She hands them to Claire, who is very appreciative. "Oh, this is great. My whole life is in that bag, and I would hate to have to stiff you on the bill," Claire says with a chuckle.
"Nonsense, my dear. Had you been in there, I just couldn't have imagined. You don't owe me a thing, and in fact, I'm giving you a refund,"
the old lady says defiantly, and as Claire begins to speak,
"I'll hear nothing else about it. This is how we do things in Ember Falls."
"The people of this town never cease to amaze me. You're all so much kinder than the folks back home. If I didn't know the history, I'd probably never leave," Claire says, almost overwhelmed by the gesture.
"No, my dear. You're going to get the hell out of here, and the sooner, the better. This town wants you here, and I don't trust it to keep you safe this time,"
Miss Green says, a sense of urgency in her tone. "I can't say I wasn't thinking the same thing," she says as the memory of Jack, pointing her away from Ember Falls, plays in her head, and she feels the fear she felt then all over again. "But there is one lead I'm hoping the sheriff and I can check out before I go."
"Fine, stay. What do I care? No one ever listens to the old lady."
An awkward smirk develops across Claire's face as she turns and makes her way back outside. Out in the fresh air, which surprisingly doesn't smell of smoke today, and the sun is bright and shining. Claire sees the sheriff leaning against his pickup in front of the diner. He was dropping off Sarah with Jenny, who is going to let her daughter join her kids for the day. She makes her way to his side and asks if everything went okay. He nods and gives her the details. "Sarah's in good hands with Jenny. She'll be okay," Claire agrees.
"So, do we get your car, or is it off to the Livingstones?"
Dalton asks, lifting his head to see her from under the brim of his hat. Claire just smiles and smirks at him with a subtle yet obvious wink as she opens the heavy door of the pickup.
To the Livingstones, I presume,
He replies as they both get into the truck and drive off.
Ten was nice and short. The 10 is the shortest chapter, just 3 minutes and 44 seconds. I bet her car gets stolen. Yes, Wildflower, they are. They are always leaning against the car track. Okay. Well, I'm getting close to color. I still need a little bit more of this shadowing done in here. And then this brush is a little difficult to use at times. When you try and go for like a long stroke, it gets thicker as you do. And I don't really like that. And it's really hard to get down on this edge because it doesn't want to paint there unless you really... But then it like spreads like a marker does, which is a little weird. And I have a really bad habit of hitting the little button here, which switches it to the eraser. That's been driving me crazy, but we'll get there. Okay. Sandwich time. Should I wait for her? You guys let me know. Should I wait? Or should I get the story going? I think I should wait. Starving's been waiting for this for a long time. Yeah, that's pretty good. Intermission chat break. Oh, yeah, she could be listening too. I didn't even think about that. I have a tendency to take my headphones off when I leave the room, unlike the last time. And I hope these things are going to hold out. I have a spare pair of earbuds just in case. But they should last. That's another thing I've noticed. If I haven't been using the pen for a while, it has a tendency to do one really long stroke when I first go back. It's getting there. I think I'm gonna kind of color it sort of with in more of a painterly style, so hopefully that'll work. I am using Adobe Fresco, which is like from what I understand, it's their answer to Procreate. There absolutely will be Wildflower. There will be a part 3. There's going to be a Christmas story around Christmas time, which is also already, I'd say, 98% written. It's the last ending. I'm toying with how I'm going to do it. And then there will be, this is going to be a quintology. Next year, there will be a Jack story that ends in the Christmas story. So they're going to go together. So there's actually been 2 hints so far in this story to the Christmas story. Yeah. No turkey. No turkey caper. You guys got me last year with the make a sequel to the Jack the Lantern story, and I immediately started doing that. And then someone was like, no, you should do a Christmas story. So I stopped with the Jack story and started with the Christmas story. And then the whole, November and December happened, and, real life reared its ugly head. And the Christmas story didn't happen in time. So, we do what we do. Okay, let's get back into this.
Chapter 11. The old pickup creaks eagerly onto the small one-lane road that leads only to the Livingstones' estate. As they drive down it, the large Victorian-style house comes into view. It's huge, a sprawling mansion with a wandering roofline and large turrets with ornate detail in the wood carvings. They pull into the uniquely small, rounded driveway with a fountain in the middle and stop directly in front of the doors. Claire seems a little nervous as they approach. Her inquisitive side pulls her to the doors, but her rational side, that knows she isn't a journalist anymore, wants her to run. Lost in her own thoughts, she is a bit startled when the sheriff knocks on the solid wood doors. A loud clunk can be heard through the door, and it slowly swings open. They're greeted by Chadwick Horn, professional butler and estate manager. To call him posh and British would be an understatement. After a short introduction, he sees them into the house. Claire feels kind of claustrophobic here. The rooms are very big, but the hallways are noticeably close. At the end of the hall, they enter a spacious study, but then a smaller office off of that, which seems peculiar to Claire, and Dalton too, based on his expression. Charles Livingstone is a small man behind a small desk in a small office, and he seems annoyed in a big way by their presence. Dalton starts with the familiar trope.
This is all going to sound a bit crazy, but
he continues and explains everything. The trial in the past that cursed Jack, what happened in the town 20 years ago, and not just what the papers and news said happened, and even how Gregory Ashcroft sacrificed himself to save the town and redeem himself. Charles Livingstone listens to the tale, becoming seemingly more intrigued with each detail and twist. By the end, he's barely in his seat and fully dedicated to what he is being told. His eyes betray his attention to every little morsel. He rises from his seat and rests his weight on his hands, leaning forward over the desk, and then he bursts out laughing like a madman.
If you expect my father to do anything like that, you have clearly not met the man.
Claire shoots an inquisitive look over to Dalton and mouths the word, "Father?" Dalton looks at the man behind the desk and simply says,
Junior.
Oh, am I not the Charles you were looking for? Sorry he couldn't be here, but he's busy tending to family business. All these wildfires are destroying our lumber farms, and I've been desperately seeking out new contracts to keep his enterprise alive.
Dalton chimes in with even more gravel and a whole lot of sass.
We didn't ask you about all that. We'd like to speak to your father.
And I'd like to not be broke next week. Now,
he waves his arm toward the door.
Please, get out!
The butler appears as if by magic. This way, please. He stops and waits at the top of the steps, not acknowledging the loud clunk from the door as they descend back to the sheriff's truck. As they drive out of the driveway, the sheriff notices as two giant gates close behind them. They probably won't be invited back anytime soon. As they drive down the long road, a small flash catches the sheriff's eye in the rearview mirror. Claire notices and reacts to his staring and looks back as they both witness a second flash. It's not a visible flash, but obscured like lightning from behind you. Then an explosion blasts into the sky from the back of the house. Dalton exclaims, "Shit!" and screeches the pickup truck through a perfect 180 on the small road, and the engine screams as the truck speeds towards the house. Flames perform a spectacular ballet above the roofline. There is no doubt in either of their minds that it has to be the office. The pickup smashes through the gate, its push bumper taking most of the impact, but Claire finds it very jarring. The truck comes to a stop in nearly the same place as before, but the sheriff's side facing the house. He exits the car with the speed of a young rookie. He really hasn't lost a step. Claire can't help but think to herself as she rounds the front of the still running truck. The first thing she notices is Chadwick Horn, sitting at the top of the steps, his posture slouched, and he is uncharacteristically smoking a cigarette. The sheriff bolts up the steps and goes straight for the door. "For doors barred. Our well-minted little geezer was always paranoid. Used an actual stockade," the professional butler says in the thickest Cockney accent she's ever heard, and it stops her in her tracks. "It were huge. It were on fire. And it was angry. He got what coming to him." The sheriff continues to struggle with the door, but it refuses to budge. "Was there anyone else in the house?" Claire asks the confusing man in front of her. "Not a one. For we pissant brown bread, that's you grab a dog and shout the fire brigade," the butler says defiantly. "What is wrong with you?" Claire asks the man. "I just lost me corn and got me P45. You do what you want, bruv," he says as he stands up and saunters off toward the broken metal gates. He starts laughing again. "What a proper tosser." "Did you get any of that?" Claire yells to the sheriff. "Not a word of it, and I'm not getting in there this way." Claire calls out to the butler. "Hey, where is Charles Sr.?" He yells back, "Off a tick, back in a lemon tops, bank on it." Claire just shrugs her shoulders and looks back to Dalton. Why wasn't it the eldest? Why Charles Jr.? She wonders if this is the revenge that Jack needs to move on again. Or is it something worse this time? Is he still out there searching for more victims? If Jack is targeting the second oldest family member, who would be next on the list? From the journal. It pops into her mind and Dalton's at the same time. "Mira Hargrove," they both say, and they are back in the truck, gunning the engine in seconds. They race back into the town, with the sheriff running lights and sirens to get them there as fast as they can. As they pull up to the library in a screeching cloud of smoke, the two jump out of the car and scramble up to the library doors, opening them so quickly you would think they kicked it in. The heavy wood doors slam into the walls with a deafening thud that reverberates and echoes through the library. Mira screams in fright, her voice challenging and joining the echoes, as they enter the building, running right for her.
"What in the world is going on here?"
She blurts out. Claire rushes an explanation, but is interrupted by the growing smell of smoke in the air. "Are you alone here?"
"No, my son is in the back,"
Mira says questioningly. The sheriff interrupts hurriedly. "Your eldest son?" She directs a look of utter confusion at them both.
"My only son, yes."
The two sprint through the main hall of the library, and as they enter the two-story back room, the books lining the walls are engulfed in flames. The wood shelves and beams glow with the burning heat of a blast furnace. Then, suddenly, a blinding flash of light, causing both Claire and Dalton to shield their faces from the flare before them. Unfortunately, Mira arrives a second later, and the flash has subsided, but she is just in time to see Jack appear with his long, black, skeletal arm outstretched, holding the head of her only son as he evaporates into ash before her eyes. She screams in agony and comes to an abrupt stop as she faints, crumbling like a rag doll to the floor. Claire and Dalton unshield their eyes, and as their sight returns, they catch a brief glimpse of Jack as he walks straight into the wall of burning books and vanishes into the flames.
He was huge.
Dalton fumbles over his words. Claire throws him a side eye, and as they connect their gazes, the fire alarm starts blaring, and the sprinklers douse them with gallons of very old and extremely disgusting water. As the fires are quenched, the room begins to fill with smoke. Their moment cut short. They realize their current predicament and lift Mira's unconscious body up over them, carrying her out of the library into a world of pain and misery when she awakens.
Poor kid. Never saw it coming. So, we're getting some stuff done here. And the story is continuing. Trying to get this big spot done, so let me just focus on this for a second. That was 11. Hey. Yeah, I killed the kid. Come on. What do you expect? Come on. Everyone's kicked a pregnant woman. If you don't get that, think about it for a second. We've all been inside of a pregnant woman, therefore we have kicked it. So. We're getting to the point where I will need to change where and how I'm doing this color. Because I'm putting all of this underneath the black. Just so that it's easier to get in here. But as we move on, it's gonna have to go on top. Just like paint would. Damn it. Didn't like that one. Okay. And I don't know if I'll finish this tonight. I would like to, but it's not super likely to happen. Because I have not done any art in a very long time. Sorry if this is taking too long. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't color the wrong pieces in. Because if I do, that would be bad. So I'm concentrating for a second. That is gray. Grayish. I think I've already done something wrong, but that's okay. Most of it's working. Okay, let's get into the next chapter. 12.
Chapter 12. As the ambulance drives away with Mira in the back, still unconscious, Claire turns to Dalton and they stare at each other in bewilderment. What is going on? This is all so different. Jack was slow and methodical. You could track him wherever he went. This is insanity. She throws her arms in the air and then rests them on her head as she walks in circles and shakes her head.
Seems about the same to me.
Dalton says sarcastically, but Claire isn't thinking that straight at the moment and doesn't catch it. The same? That's two. 2 killings in just a couple of hours. Not days, hours, she says, slapping an imaginary watch on her wrist. And none of it makes sense. The first time, Jack went after the eldest. But this time, he went after the second eldest. And that poor boy, he was what, the 4th? How does that make sense?
Well, Mira was the second eldest. I believe her mother died in childbirth. That's why they called her Miracle,
Dalton explains.
But that doesn't tell us why he went after the boy and not her. Something else must be directing his actions.
For a moment, Claire dives deep into her memories and can sharply see the nameplate on her desk. Miracle Hargrove, town historian and senior librarian. She can't believe that slipped by her. Oh, I can understand that. After all, Sarah is short for Serafina. Yes, my daughter's name is the Fiery One, she says through a cockeyed smirk. But that still only gives us more questions. If Mira was the second, why did he go after the third? Claire questions as the deputy walks over to the sheriff.
All cleared up here, boss. I'm gonna head back to the office and start getting the paperwork done.
The deputy says.
Any sign of that article I asked you to find me?
No, sir. Been a little busy around here.
The deputy replies.
Well, get on that too. It may help us put an end to all this before anyone else gets hurt. I need that more than the paperwork right now,
Dalton says to the deputy, and he wonders if Claire actually bought it. She does have great instincts. He knows that he never lost the article, and was just hoping that Claire would move on before any of this really had time to begin. She didn't, and things are getting out of hand quickly, again. He considers telling her, but still thinks he can fix it before she gets more involved. Should he bring her back to his home office and show her the article framed on his wall? That piece of paper holds the names of all 6 jurors, but do they even have a connection to any of this? He also keeps it a secret because another of his ancestors was on the jury. But he knows that man voted not guilty along with one other man, Nestor Betancourt. As far as he could tell, his family should be in the clear. But if they aren't, then he isn't, since he has no immediate family. The Hargrove family member was a witness, but that doesn't explain why Miss Hargrove wasn't the target. And it really didn't explain why Mira wasn't the target either. Could it be one of the other families of a juror that voted guilty? Or was it the remaining families? The Collins, the Vanderbilts, who were all gone, the Windsors, or the Newtons? Only time would tell, but it was too soon to know for sure. He looks over at Claire, who still seems to be racking her brain to try and piece it all together without all the information, and he feels bad. But he has plans to try and talk her out of staying in town any longer. Claire sits herself down on the curb along Main Street and holds her head in her hands. She can't wrap her mind around everything that is going on. Why is Jack back? Why is he so much stronger and bigger and so much more sinister? It's like he is killing at random instead of calculated. But she knows deep down there has to be a connection somewhere that she just hasn't figured out yet. The sheriff walks over and puts a hand on her shoulder.
How about we go get Sarah and bring you both home to my place before I head into the office to help the deputy get this all settled?
She agrees and they head off to his old truck. On the way, he can't help but try and put it all together. He knows that the Collins and Vanderbilt families aren't even in town. They were the globe-trotting type, just like the Livingstones and the Ashcrofts were. Very rarely coming back to Ember Falls unless they absolutely had to, usually for business reasons. All these families that were all tied to this one case, and they all got filthy stinking rich, and then, just as suddenly, they all left town. After picking up the child and driving to his house, he drops them off and even helps get Sarah set. He then excuses himself and tells Claire that he will see her in the morning, and maybe then they'll be able to make more sense of it. He doesn't notice during their conversation that he is staring at the door to his home office, where the so-called lost article hangs, neatly framed. He is so distracted at the moment that he doesn't realize what he's doing, or that Claire seems to be fully aware. He dispenses some niceties and heads out the door, telling Claire to lock up after he leaves, which she does, thinking it wouldn't really be any protection from Jack. If he wanted to get to her, walls didn't seem to faze him this time around. The sheriff enters the station house and walks straight into his office and sits down behind his desk. The deputy leans in and informs him that he still hasn't found the article he wanted.
Never mind that. Get that paperwork started so we're not here all night.
Dalton snaps at him, knowing it isn't anywhere to be found. The deputy is more than a little confused after the encounter across the street earlier, but does what he's told. Dalton opens the top drawer of his desk and pulls out a citizen registry and spreads it open on his desk, turning on the lamp, which bathes the area in a warm yellow light. He peruses the names and birth records. The Windsors had 4 children and the Newtons had 7 currently. And they all still lived here, but this didn't really help at the moment. It could be either of the 2 families, and any one of them could be next. No answers here yet. In Ember Falls, the richer people all lived on the outskirts of town, away from the hustle and bustle of common people, in large houses with even larger properties. If you added it all together, it was double, if not triple the size of the entire town itself. They actually encircled the whole town, and no longer interacted with most of the town's residents.
I guess we're just not good enough to be associated with.
Dalton sits there shaking his head, a little shocked by his own thoughts. He has met these people and knows most of them for decades. They weren't bad people, just rich and a little self-absorbed in their own lives. He shouldn't hold it against them. He just knows somehow that these are the next targets. He rises from his chair and calls out to Deputy Oliver, who meets him at the door.
Come with me, son,
he says in a demanding voice.
What about the paperwork, sir?
The deputy asks.
Put it on the back burner for now. I need your help with something,
he says as they head to the stairwell and proceeds upward. The deputy follows without hesitation and makes his way up a bit faster than Dalton, who looks back down at him.
I'm 72, damn it. It's been a long day. Head to the roof, I'll get there.
The deputy runs ahead, and as Dalton climbs the steps, he hears the loud thud of Oliver hitting the bar latch on the large metal door. It creaks open slowly, showing its age and amount of use that it gets.
Not much further now, old-timer,
he mumbles to himself. As he reaches the doorway and steps outside, he begins to search the horizon line. Ember Falls sits inside a circular depression upon the earth. He always wondered if it was a crater. As he scans beyond the town's limits, Deputy Oliver calls to him.
Sheriff, I hope this isn't what you were looking for.
A quiver in his voice. Dalton turns and looks out over the deputy's shoulder.
By Odin's beard,
he says as he looks over the landscape. Jack has been very, very busy, trailing fire everywhere he goes, and everywhere he appears. Those fires are spreading through the woods on the edge of the town. They now burn hotter and brighter than ever before. The wildfire in front of him burns all the way from the Livingstones to the library, and then back across towards another house. But which one? He squints through the darkness and fire to see the house.
The Windsors,
He says, putting his hand on the younger deputy's back.
you get on the horn and get the fire department out there if they aren't already on their way. I don't hear any sirens, so it might not have been called in yet. After that, get over to the Newton estate and stake it out. I want to know if anything happens out of the ordinary over there. But don't go near the house unless you hear from me. I'm on my way to the Windsor place to see if I can get them evacuated before the whole place burns. Also, ring up Jenny and get her to my house. I need to pick up Claire on the way, but someone has to be there to babysit the kid. I don't know if I can handle this without her.
You don't know if you can handle what? And why do you need an ex-journalist to do it?
The deputy asks.
Just get it done. I don't have time to explain this town's wicked history right now. Go!
He yells at the man. Oliver takes off and is down the stairs in no time. While the sheriff descends the stairs a little slower, he can hear alarms and sirens echoing through the valley.
That boy is quick for being a little slow,
He murmurs to himself again. A short while later, he has grabbed Claire, filled in Jenny, and the two of them are racing across town to the Windsor estate.
Sorry to rouse you at this late hour, but you seem to be right once again. Jack is out of control and moving at a pace we can't keep up with,
Dalton says sympathetically. How did you see this coming? Claire questions.
Just had a hunch that if I went to the roof of the station, Jack might be telegraphing his movements and what direction he was heading. But I'm afraid we might be too late,
He replies with a little fear and shakiness in his voice.
What I saw shook me. Half the woods and a small portion of the town was in flames and spreading, as you know, unnaturally fast and only in one direction.
I'm glad you came and got me, but how did Jenny know? How did she get there so fast? Claire asks.
That deputy of mine is surprisingly good at his job. He'll make a fine successor one day, but today is not that day.
So, where exactly are we headed? Claire stares out the window, watching the trees slip by as they speed along this barren country road. When out of nowhere, a tree begins to fall across the road and bursts into flames as it hits the ground, right behind the speeding truck. Wow, that was close, Claire says while looking out the rear window. The forest on either side also begins to burn, and the glow of the firelight spreads quickly.
Well, there's no going back now,
Dalton jests.
Oh, and the Windsor estate is where we're headed.
They seemingly arrive at the Windsor estate before Jack does, as it is on fire, and no signs of smoke are present. As it comes into full view, they wonder if there is anything they can do, even as everything around is burning and closing in with great speed.
I'm having a little trouble here getting getting the color I want to go on the layer I want it to be on. So I'm going to lock that one, see if that helps. It might not, because it's a completely different kind of layer. Maybe if I put it here. Okay, there we go. Okay, we're getting there. My background, it's supposed to. Norse, LOL. What? Odin's beard? Fresco. Adobe Fresco. D-Link. Okay. We're almost there. We're on the last row now. So, chapter 13. Let's do it.
Chapter 13. The old truck slows as it goes from the roadway to the grand driveway of the Windsor estate. They pull up and exit the vehicle. Xavier Windsor leans against the pickup outside Dalton's window. Well, I feared the worst, and if the sheriff is here, I must not have been wrong. Wildfire growing out of control?
You don't know the half of it, sir,
Dalton says to the man, more than half his age.
There is something coming this way, but it ain't just a wildfire. It's something older and scarier than just an out-of-control fire.
They do their best to explain, and while they seem more receptive than Charles Livingstone was, they aren't sure they buy it. They do, however, agree they should find the others and get out of here. When they enter the house, they find Marcus Windsor, the eldest child, waiting by the bottom of a giant double staircase. He has a bag packed and seems to be the only one with any sense. They ask Marcus where his siblings are, but he doesn't know. The group frantically starts checking the house for them, and at first they are having no luck. But eventually they find them in the large family room at the back of the house. Easy to not notice the flames from here. Paige and Arthur Windsor are sitting on a couch talking when the group rushes in. Paige is in her 20s and Arthur is just barely 19, and he is just a little too cocky for his own good. The pair try once again to explain the situation and describe what's coming, but the two youngest Windsors could care less and think it's all a big joke. They laugh at the mere thought, and nothing is getting them anywhere. Dalton decides to truly take control of the situation. He pulls out his pistol and fires the shot into the ceiling, and debris scatters as it falls over everyone.
Listen, you little rats. There is a creature out there, and it's coming for.
One of you two, most likely, Claire jumps in. It keeps changing its motives, and we're not sure. But with this thing out there, none of you are really safe.
It's killed twice already today, and it isn't stopping anytime soon, as far as we can tell,
the sheriff says coldly. The family expresses their disbelief, and while they do, everyone starts to feel it. A slow rumble in the entire house. The tremble increases, and a bookshelf on the outer wall begins to shake. Books and knickknacks fall from the shelves and are beginning to smolder. Then smoke, and where there's smoke, there is soon to be fire.
We need to move now,
Dalton bellows. The wall flashes over with flames and burns quicker than the driest wood. As it begins to crumble before them, Jack crashes through the facade. Books fly in every direction, and smaller fires spark up everywhere they land and set the house ablaze. Jack is even larger now, at least 20 feet tall as he squeezes himself into the room. Most of the wall collapses behind him, the fire spreading faster and faster. Claire yells to the Windsors, "Run! Get out of here!" They do, but the way into the main house has already been cut off by an inferno. They scramble into a smaller room off to the side and lock the door behind them, but there is no way out of there. Jack lumbers toward the room, and the house is rocked with every step. Claire jumps out in front of him, hoping her presence will calm him. She screams at him, "You don't have to do this, Jack! Just let it go!" Jack looks to meet her gaze as Dalton readies his weapon and aims it at Jack's ash-colored, enormous pumpkin head. Dalton pulls back the hammer and racks a bullet into the chamber, grabbing Jack's attention. He quickly swings his huge head in Dalton's direction and points his long skeletal arm, covered in even more spikes, directly at him. Dalton kind of shrinks in his own skin, wondering if this is the end. Jack retracts his arm and points at his own chest, and he lowers his head in what looks like pure sadness. He looks back up and meets Dalton's eyes. He waves a single slender spike of a finger in the air, gesturing no as if a parent to a child, and Dalton freezes in place. He is immobilized and couldn't fire even if he tried. Jack's attention turns back to the other door that the Windsors are hiding in, still behind Claire. He draws in his arm and swings it forward with great force. It just misses Claire as it flies past her and slams into the locked door and the wall surrounding it. Inside, the Windsors cringe in fear as they huddle against the back wall, expecting the door to break at any moment. Claire screams at Jack again. "You must stop this!" He repeats his action again with the other arm, the wall breaking a little more and the door catching on fire. The flames caress the walls on both sides, and the Windsors hold each other for comfort. This is where the mother in Claire rears its ugly head. She stiffens her posture in place and becomes as firm as she can. "Jack, no!" she screams. Jack's black, hollow eyes focus on Claire. He lowers his head to bring himself face to face with her. The heat rippling in the air around her, and her hair waves in the breeze it creates, and Jack speaks.
Guilty!
Jack screeches in a deafening cacophony. The entire house shakes. Walls crack. The floor buckles and the ceiling begins to crumble. But Claire doesn't feel the heat this time. She either can't feel it or just won't. Neither could be good for her. She stares him dead in his eyes, and as she does, Jack falls to the ground. The impact of his massive weight reverberates through the house, and just like that, Jack disintegrates into ash before their eyes. Claire looks to Dalton, and Dalton slips forward, his paralyzation subsiding. "Did we do it?" Claire asks.
I didn't do nothing,
Dalton replies.
whatever you did. I think it worked.
A slight smile moves across her face. "Dalton, we did." The most terrifying and gruesome screams they have ever heard shatter the near silence from the other room. Light streams through the cracks around the door frame and shoots from the cracks in the wall, illuminating the smoky room they stand in. The remaining Windsors burst through the door and come flying out, thick black smoke billowing from the open doorway, falling to their knees in anguish.
It killed them. It killed them both. Then just disappeared.
Mr. Windsor sobs.
My children! My children!
Miss Windsor cries into her hands, shaking uncontrollably. Claire and Dalton realize that Jack killed two this time, the fourth and the fifth eldest of the family line. They have to find some way to stop him before he strikes again. The Newtons are 7 orphan children living in one home. They never left because they couldn't take being apart, and they were next.
Could the Newtons be 6 and 7?
Claire asks Dalton.
Not sure, but it's a good guess. We need to get these people out of here. Come with us,
Dalton says as he takes control of the situation.
I've got help coming. No need to add more to this travesty.
A while later, as they stand outside, Deputy Oliver and the paramedics attend to the injured. The light of dawn appears at the horizon. Sunlight stretches into the house, and the fires almost react to it and burn themselves out. Deputy Oliver approaches Dalton and Claire.
What the hell happened here, sir?
He asks as the medics load the family into multiple ambulances. All of them suffer some severe burns, and the medical examiners load 2 charred corpses into the back of a van.
That family looks like a bomb went off.
What the hell do you think happened? Look at the house. Too much to explain right now. We got about 6 to 7 hours until the valley's shadow spreads across the town. If I'm right, that is when he'll strike next. I want every fire crew from Misty Creek to Itty Bitty SNB on mutual aid. If they got a fire truck, I want them on their way here now. Let's get these fires under control, and we need to find the Newtons as fast as possible. Oliver, you get back to the house and tell them to get everyone home. We've got something to do first. Then we'll meet you right there.
Dalton is direct and bold with his words. He's not screwing around anymore. The deputy nods in confirmation and jogs away shouting into his radio. Claire questions the sheriff. Who do we have to see?
Old Doc Montgomery. I got a theory brewing in my brain, but I need answers first,
Dalton says, sounding as confident as he ever has.
Okay, so I have clearly messed up some of my layers, and my layers are not where they need to be, and it's driving me crazy because I can't get certain colors on top of certain colors, but under other colors. Yeah, I messed up. But We're working on it. We're getting there. Trying to get it to look, flamey and fiery and bright. By darkening the outer edges, hopefully it'll appear to get slightly brighter on the inside. And that is not thick enough. Not soft enough either. Can I control that? Pressure dynamics. No, that's size. I don't want size, I want flow. Velocity? No? I don't know. Thought there was a way to do this. Okay, I give up. We'll just try and hug the outer edge. Get some shape in there. Okay. Does anybody like the fact that the two families' names are Windsor Newton? Windsor and Newton? I thought that was fun. Okay, let's continue.
Chapter 14. For the first time in days, Claire and Dalton drive back into town at a near normal speed. As they drive, they see multiple fire trucks fly by them in the direction of the fire they just left in the rearview mirror. As one old-looking truck passes them, Dalton can't help but comment,
"My word, S&B actually sent a truck. Well, that was nice of them."
Claire turns in her seat and looks straight at Dalton, her eyebrows all twisted and grim-looking. He notices, but doesn't acknowledge it in any way. "So, are you gonna let me in on this theory of yours? Or do I have to pry it out of you with a crowbar?" Claire says sarcastically.
"Not just yet. Once I talk to the doc, things might make more sense. I remember overhearing a conversation, and something earlier reminded me of it, but I could be mistaken. I'm no journalist like you."
"Ex-journalist," Claire interjects.
"Sorry, I'm no ex-journalist like you, so I don't want to get my hopes up. But I just have a hunch, and I want to check it out. Is that okay with you?"
"Why are you being so crass all of a sudden? Did I offend you?" she asks.
"No, ma'am. Just a little edgy. I'm not always right, but I feel this one in my gut."
Claire sinks in her seat a bit and looks back out the window toward the endless trees in all of their fall glory, slowly being lit by the dawning light. "Well, you know, the gut and a little hunch is a journalist's best friend. When in doubt, you trust your instincts, and you do whatever it takes to get the information you need. You never know. Lives may depend on it. In this situation, right here, we definitely know that lives may be saved if we're right. So you get your info, and I'll wait until you do. You're a good sheriff, and you know this town and its people way better than I do. If you think you got something, you go for it." She scrunches herself up in the seat.
"That's the plan, little lady," he says. "That's the plan."
He looks over at her and she seems to be drifting off. It's been a long night for both of them, but if he's right, things might be looking up, or at least looking better. Claire slowly opens her eyes. She must have slept for an hour or so. She stretches out the cramps from being asleep in the old truck. Not the best rest she's ever had. She looks around and takes notes of what she's seeing. The sheriff is diagonally across the street on the far corner, in front of the doctor's office. He is speaking with the doctor, and the doctor looks not only confused, but bewildered too. He is dressed like every small-town doctor you've ever seen. And if you've never seen one, you're still right. He has a curly handlebar mustache. He's bald on top, but wearing a nice hat. He wears big, round lens glasses and a lab coat. His disposition changes from confused to annoyed as she watches. Dalton waves his arms around and points back in the direction of the Windsor estate. The doctor raises his hand as if to show defiance, but it slowly changes to a look of almost despair. He drops his head and places it on his palm. Whatever the sheriff just said, it must have swayed him. The doctor starts talking, and Dalton just keeps questioning. When the doctor steps back and waves his arms in a definitive gesture of no, Claire thinks that might be the end of it. But Dalton steps toward him and starts with the arm waving and a little shouting this time. This goes on for what seems like a long time, but it was probably only a minute or two. But the doctor takes a moment and once again looks defeated. She knows, just by his posture, that he is now spilling the beans. Then, the doctor turns and throws his hands up, heading toward his office. He stops a second and looks back at Dalton and barks something out. She isn't sure, but she thinks he yelled, "You owe me." Dalton turns and makes his way back to the truck. He opens the door and slides in slower than she expected, slamming the door behind him. He grips the steering wheel firmly. Claire leans towards him on the edge of her seat. Every ounce of her is screaming for information. She feels the energy she used to have working on the stories just like this, but before they were real. She is visibly shaking in anticipation. "Well," she blurts out.
I was right.
"Right about what?" she says, grabbing his jacket and shaking him. "Come on, Dalton. I'm gonna explode here."
You can forget about that missing article. We were going about it all wrong. We assumed that since Ashcroft and the others were firstborns, that it would be the same this time.
"But it wasn't," Claire interrupts.
So we took the evidence we had after Livingstone was murdered and went with it. And we were almost right, but for the wrong reason. And we didn't get to the Hargrove kid in time, so we turned our focus onto the Windsors. And again, we found evidence that what we were thinking was the right way to go. But again, we were right, but for the wrong reasons.
"Well then, what was the right reason?" Claire asks.
Children,
Dalton says. "But Charles wasn't a child, and that Marcus kid escaped without much more than a few burns and bruises."
Correct. It's not that they are children, but that they can have children,
Dalton states firmly.
Last week I was in the diner, having my usual breakfast, and I overheard Miss Windsor talking to Alexandra Newton. She said that her son had been in an accident at school during a sports match of some kind, and well, he would no longer be able to have kids of his own.
"Is that all you have to go on?" Claire questions him sternly, like her editor used to do to her.
Listen, Charles was an adult, but he had no children. His father controlled every waking moment, and well, no kids. I know for a fact that Mira Hargrove suffered from the same condition that her mother had, and that she was extremely brave to try and have a child at all. But she did, and never would again. Her son, though, could have. Paige and Arthur Windsor were the only two in that family that could possibly have children at this point. This isn't conjecture. This is town news. Everyone knew that Xavier and Juliet were both beyond having more kids. What really scares me, though, is that I think all of the Newtons could be next. All 7 of them.
Claire sinks back into her seat. "That's way more than I expected. Why, though? What will this accomplish for Jack?
I think he's trying to end the bloodlines. He's uprooting the family tree. If the families stop, maybe his curse will be broken and he can finally rest in peace.
The sheriff lowers his head.
And I almost want to let him.
We have to try and save them, though. I have to try and save them.
Of course we have to try. I just wouldn't get my hopes up,
Dalton says. Hope, Sheriff, is all we have now.
Okay, so there was a line in there twice. That was 2 different takes, and I forgot to take one out, obviously. And the Vanderbilts. Oh yeah, we're getting there, and there are 2 chapters left. Then the epilogue and the credits. So that was 15, right? 15 is the second longest chapter. So we're bringing it in. Ready? Here we go. Was that 15 or 14? I am so bad at this. That was 14. Thank you. Okay.
Chapter 15. The radio squelches to life as the deputy comes across and informs the sheriff that he is at the Newtons' house and the entire family's there. He has fire crews out in the woods and 3 trucks on standby at the Newtons. Dalton slaps on a little praise and tells him he'll be there soon.
We should get over there,
Dalton says, starting his truck. I'd like to swing by your place and check on Sarah and Jenny if that wouldn't be too much trouble, Claire says hesitantly.
Not a problem. I think we got time. With all the firemen out there fighting Jack's blazes, I think we can keep him at bay until at least nightfall. We may have a couple of hours until the sun drops behind the valley ridge. Once that happens, it'll get dark, and it'll get dark fast.
I hope you're right, Dalton. I don't want to let those people down. Not like the Windsors. Not again. We have to try and stop Jack, or we're going to regret it every day for the rest of our lives. Claire sounds a bit defeated already, but still has an air of confidence to her. As they drive down the road leading to the sheriff's house, they are caught off guard when they see Jenny run out into the street. She looks in every direction possible, but clearly isn't seeing what she wants to see. The sheriff pulls over to the side of the road, and they both get out and rush over to a frantic Jenny spinning in confusion.
Where'd she go? Did you see her? Oh my word, she was just...
Whoa, what's going on, darling?
Dalton asks. Jenny! Where is Sarah? Claire interrupts forcefully.
She was just sitting there, playing with the other kids, and then she wasn't.
No. Was it Jack? Did he...
No. She just ran off. I saw her heading this way, and I was right behind her. Then I lost sight of her as soon as she made it to the road.
We never saw her, Dalton adds.
Sheriff, we have to find her. I shouldn't have left her. I can't...
Settle down. We have men all over the town, and they all have radios. We'll have her back in your arms in no time.
Dalton opens the door to his truck and grabs the CB handset.
Oliver, come in!
There is no reply. Jenny continues to freak out. She's never lost one of her own children. How could she do this? How could she let it happen? And surprisingly, it is Claire that is trying to calm her down.
Oliver, pick up the damn radio,
the sheriff orders into the handset.
Oliver, go.
The voice crackles through the old speaker.
We got the last thing we need right now, son. We got a missing kid. Last seen on the road by my house, and I'm here now. She may have run off into the woods, but we don't know for sure. I want you to hold your post and make sure nothing goes near that house. But also, get on the horn and you get every ear listening out on the lookout.
Damn it. I'm on it, sir.
The deputy exclaims. You're quarterback on this one, kid. Get to it, Dalton quips.
Roger that, sir.
Dalton lowers the volume on the CV as it explodes with verbal commands from the deputy to multiple firefighting teams, a few state troopers, and a couple other local cops that have been helping out with coordinating the firefighting efforts.
That's gonna take a while,
he says, hopping out of the truck and locks eyes with Claire.
We're gonna find her, don't you worry. But we have to get over to that house ASAP.
You can't be serious. Not with my daughter.
Claire, listen to me. We know what the danger is, and we're pretty sure we know where the danger is heading. If we go there and she isn't there, well, at least we know she isn't in immediate danger. She might be lost or running around in the woods, but the fire will be heading to us, not her. If she is there, then you get her back and we can keep her safe,
Dalton says in a rather calming way. I'm not sure I like it, but you might be right, and I did say we have to try. If she did head that way, I want to get to her before anything else does. Let's go. They make their way over to the Newtons' estate. As they arrive, they see the deputy standing by the front doors. The sheriff approaches Oliver and asks him about Sarah and where the family is.
No sign of any little girls here, sir. But I had the Newtons wait in the family room, inside, through the foyer, and make a left.
Claire follows Dalton, and Oliver brings up the rear. Inside the family room, all 7 of the Newtons are there. 6 adults and 1 still a minor. They ask what's going on, and Dalton tries to explain. But not in the same way they had been. He leaves out all of the curse talk and supernatural type stuff. He simply tells them they have a reasonable suspicion that someone means them harm, and they have valid information that someone may be targeting them. They burst into conversation, and questions start flying. Why us? What did we do? Who would want to hurt us?
We don't really know at the moment, but they weren't just after you, and multiple people from this town are now dead. The suspect uses fire, and it seems that you all are next on the list, Dalton explains. As he tries to keep the situation under control, one of the 7 starts staring out the window and kind of cocking her head.
Sir, should we be worried by that?
Natalie Newton questions.
Worried about what?
He asks the young woman.
That.
She and another sister say, standing up and pointing out the large plate glass windows lining the far wall. The sheriff turns his head and can see a light through the trees in the distance. Claire and Oliver have also noticed now, and they are all watching the warm light in the woods seem to get brighter and brighter, and definitely closer. They stand practically right in front of the windows as the trees at the edge of the property begin to burn. Jack, Claire says in a whisper.
Who's Jack?
Oliver asks.
I think you're about to find out, son, Dalton says. And you are not going to like it. This is something you don't want to know.
2 giant oak trees covered in flames begin to fall toward the house. The burning trees in front of them at the tree line get pushed out of the way and set ablaze too. Each tree leans more and more toward them, toward the house, and they all calculate the chances they will hit it, and it isn't looking good. All 3 start slowly backing away from the window, but are quickly stopped by a large sectional couch. The trees are now in freefall, and the wind rushing through them, it seems to stoke the flames even larger. The windows between them and the trees are not a shield, but just a wall of millions of pieces of shrapnel.
Over!
Yells Dalton as he turns and grabs Claire as he half throws and half falls the 2 of them over the couch. Oliver leaps over like the well-trained officer he is. Dalton, for an old man, moves with the grace of a ballerina as he softly places Claire, laying on the couch as the 2 officers hit the hardwood floors like a couple of sacks filled with bricks. At the same moment, the twin trees connect with the ground, a few feet short of the windows. Burning sticks, embers, and sparks rain into the glass, and the impact noise is deafening. They brace for the onslaught, but none comes, and Oliver is the first to look up. Embers and firebrands swirl in giant circles and arches of fiery chaos. Embers and firebrands swirl in giant circles and arcs of fiery chaos. But not one gets through. There isn't even a scratch.
Must be bulletproof glass, huh?
Oliver says, turning to look at the Newton family.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
The hell you yammering on about, Deputy?
Dalton asks, getting to his feet. Dalton, Claire says.
The Newtons, Sheriff. They're gone.
Oliver says. Dalton, Claire says again.
What do you mean they're gone? Where the hell did they go?
Dalton questions loudly, his ears still ringing from the tree's collision with the ground. Dalton! Claire yells as both officers turn their head back behind them, to the outside. They can see the first glimpse of Jack as he walks through the fire and flames. The floating embers seem to bend to his whim and fly at them in hundreds of tiny streams like a sci-fi depiction of hyperspeed.
What is that?
Oliver yells, clearly freaking out a bit more than Dalton expected. We need to move now, Claire says frantically. The embers are making the glass hot, and the points of impact are starting to glow red. A small crack appears, then another, and another.
Oliver, Jack. Jack, Oliver,
Dalton says sarcastically as they all move in unison towards the exit.
Oliver, join us in the real world here, kid. Where did they go?
Oliver fumbles for the words and remembers that one of them had mentioned a panic room or a bomb shelter their parents put in a couple decades ago.
Probably out back,
Dalton says, and they head through the large fancy kitchen toward the back of the house and see the doors to the yard have been left completely wide open.
They went this way, all right.
They sprint through the doors. The sound of breaking glass and what might be a whoosh of flames blasts in behind them. They run out onto the brick patio that butts up against a large, sprawling lawn, sloping downward toward a creek and a tree line.
Which way?
Dalton says and directs them to look for signs of which direction they might have gone. They spread out and start looking. The house begins to burn behind them. The roar of the fire and the sound of breaking timbers echo from inside the house, growing louder with every moment. They scan the area around them. Dalton goes a little to the right and Oliver a little to the left, while Claire walks dead ahead. The lawn, wet with droplets from a sprinkler system, begins to glow and reflects the growing light of the house, slowly succumbing to the grasp of every flame. Claire strains her eyes against the glowing light from behind her, and that's when she sees them. Footprints in the grass. The water has been trampled off the blades of grass, making spots that do not glow in illuminated intensity. She starts to follow them and moves further from the house and the two officers. As she continues onward, she sees something. What appears to be a large metal grate with many clearly defined sections. It looks like it could be an entrance to something underground. As she looks at the machinery underneath the grates, she thinks it drops down and becomes a stairwell, and the light growing around her makes it even more obvious as a large steel door comes into view. She can feel a blast of wind coming from below as the bunker ventilates the air from inside. She turns and shouts to the other officers, I think I got something over here! Come quick! Her words trail off as a 25-foot jack smashes through the burning wall of the house out into the yard. Bricks, mortar, and flaming chunks of house spew out like an avalanche of fire and destruction. Both officers turn to face it, and Oliver even draws his pistol and aims it at the enormous burning creature. It will do him no good, as Jack raises both arms to his sides and again makes the motion of no with both hands, waving one long finger, and with that, both men find themselves frozen in place. New to Oliver, but not to Dalton. He just grins and bears it. Jack stares at Claire, who stands by the grating in the ground, approximately where the first step down would be if it were engaged. She sees no way in. Jack's black hollow eyes pierce through her with anger. His head tilts downward and focuses on a spot in front of her in the lawn. She realizes that it is the area beyond the door, in the earth below her. He's looking at the Newtons, who are unaware of anything outside the bunker. Claire begins to walk toward Jack as if being drawn in. Her boots clang against the steel grate, but the roar of Jack's fire make it seem silent in comparison. Jack lumbers forward, one massive step at a time, clearing much distance as he does. She makes up far less ground as she steps off the grating and onto the grass. She starts talking calmly to Jack as she inches forward, step by step. "You don't have to do this, Jack. You know you don't. These people never hurt you. You were hurt by the others from long ago. But not these people. Not them," she pleads with him as he grows closer. She feels the heat coming off of him and does everything she can to endure it. She takes a few more steps and continues. "You can make a choice, Jack. You can end this whenever you want. It has always been up to you. Only you, Jack. You are the one in control here." He is nearly on top of her now, and she stares right up at him. Still, in her defiance, she yells at him. "You don't have to do this!" Jack stops and shifts his attention down toward her. He moves slowly and drops to one knee that thuds into the ground, sparks shooting out like a firework. Then the other leg drops down to his knee, and he kneels before her. His back bends and he leans forward, lowering himself until both of his colossal hands pound into the ground, and he lowers his head once again to bring his monstrous pumpkin head face to face with Claire. Only feet away, the heat singes her hair at the tips and her cheeks grow red like an instant sunburn. Fear overtakes her. She was able to walk right up to him the last time, but this time she feels him as if she were already burning to a crisp, like Ashcroft did. She must try to stop him though, and she raises her hand and places it on his forehead. "Stop," she says in a sad whimper. Jack's body slumps and his fire seems to recede a bit. The heat dissipates and she feels safe. Then, Jack's body suddenly flares in an extremely intense amount of heat and light, like the fire of the sun, and Claire is thrown back a dozen yards. Her palm burns severely, and she slams into the ground, tumbling down the hillside toward the creek, landing on her back along the shore. She is dazed and battered, and she drops her head to her right, struggling to hold on to consciousness. She thinks she sees two tiny feet in tiny black boots, and they walk up the hill. As her vision blurs, her eyes close, and she drifts into unconsciousness.
Only you can stop Forrest. Newton's are little piles of ashes. Yep, all of them. And I know somewhere along the line, someone is going to make some kind of complaint that I'm putting people in ovens, and that was not the intent. But I've already heard it once from a friend who I was just kind of describing the story to. So, yeah, there's that. But hopefully, it's not what people think. I'm not trying to make that connection at all. Not at all. Okay. Oh, this is 16. So, we should be. That was 15. That was 14. That was 15. I meant to make it so that when I pushed the button, it changed color, and I forgot to do that, and that's why I keep losing my mind. Okay, 16. Here we go. Okay. Then the quick epilogue and the credits. Ready? Let's go.
Chapter 16. Claire opens her eyes and all the pain of the world returns to her. She may have a broken rib or two. Third-degree burns on her palm, and she hurts all over. But she swears to herself that she saw her daughter. She struggles to get to her hands and knees and looks up the small hill. Her eyes struggle to regain focus as she crawls with all her might up the small incline. As her sight returns, a glimpse of her child disappears over the top of the hill. She struggles and winces in pain with every movement. The wet grass slips under her weight as she tries harder to make her way up the hill. As she crests the top, the blinding light of Jack hits her and the heat returns, so intense she shields herself from it. And she sees her. She sees Sarah as she walks straight at Jack. Walks at him like he wasn't even there. She looks toward Jack and sees his long arms buried in the dirt to his elbows beneath him. And she understands what he's doing. He is transferring his heat into the ground, into the walls of the bomb shelter, and turning it into a blast furnace. He is burning them alive, and he's doing it right now. She can't help him. She can't stop him. And now, she thinks he's going to kill her daughter too. She reaches out an arm in front of her and yells with so much force it hurts. Sarah! And she catches a flash of her daughter's silhouette amongst the searing light of Jack's burning fury. Suddenly, the little girl stops, turns, and looks back at her mother laying in the grass, the tears streaming down her face, her body trembling in fear and screaming in pain.
He's done now, Mama. He has to go back. I need to help the angry man. No, the sad man. He just wants it all to end.
She turns and approaches Jack. Like her mother before her, she reaches out her hand and places it on Jack's forehead. A sudden blast of heat and smoke rushes through the grating in the ground behind Claire and streaks up into the sky. The sickly smell of burning flesh fills the air and surrounds them. The heat doesn't affect Sarah at all, and as her hand makes contact with him, the light and heat moves away from her touch. The heat diminishes and the fiery glow fades until only Jack's smoldering black body remains in the dark, contrasted only by the still burning house. Jack raises his head and Sarah's hand slides across the pumpkin-like flesh of his face until it settles on his chin. A few small tears flow from his deep black eyes and down his face. He closes his eyes and once again he crumbles to ash and breaks, falling to the ground. Collapsing and disintegrating into ash and dust caught on the wind as he drifts back into the forest, and with him all the fire seems to fade and disappear, leaving only the smoke and destruction behind. Claire staggers to her feet, the pain shooting through her. She looks past the smoke rising from the ground and sees Sarah lying motionless in the burned grass and ash. She starts running and fights through the agony until she reaches the little girl, snatching her into her arms, giving her the tightest hug she can muster. The two officers, now free to move, walk up to the small, huddled mass before them.
Claire! Is she?
Dalton tries to ask.
She's alive,
Claire whispers, still sobbing over the girl in her arms. Deputy Oliver reaches his hand down to her, and she shoots him quite a stunned look.
Oh, gonna need a little more help than a hand, Deputy,
she says, looking at Dalton for confirmation.
Some help you were, rookie. Get on that radio and get this woman some help.
Dalton snarls at the younger officer. Dalton snarls at the young officer. Oliver jumps up and starts walking around the side of the house, as he does his damnedest to get to work. Dalton slumps down next to Claire and the kid.
I'm just gonna sit here and wait with you little ladies. I'm getting way too old for this.
Do you think it's really over this time? Claire asks.
I don't know, but I wouldn't count on it.
Dalton replies as he looks Claire right in the eyes.
Serafina, the fiery one, huh? It's a damn fine name. A damn fine name.
Claire looks at the sheriff, and in what seems like a brand new madness, bursts out laughing and rolls onto her back, fighting back the pain as she laughs hysterically, her motionless child laying on her chest. Dalton follows suit, and they both chuckle themselves out of breath. As the laughter subsides, she stares up into the moonless night sky and looks at the twinkling stars so far off in the distance. It makes her feel small and helpless, even though she's holding someone far more helpless than her. A slightly purple comet streaks through the sky. She takes a deep breath and says, "A damn fine name indeed."
Okay, we're working on it. How many times have I got to hold up my fingers to say, look, I put that line in there twice? I did kind of have to rush it, so from the time I got these things put in to now was really not all that long, and I rushed. So okay. So, what are we on? We're on the epilogue. Okay. And then credits, and hopefully the credits will hold up. Let's go.
Epilogue. A few days later, Dalton is sitting in his home office when he hears a knock at his front door. He gets up from his chair and his sore body tries desperately not to let him. He slowly flexes until his body is standing up straight. He walks to the window and pulls aside the curtain to look out toward the road. He sees a small red sedan behind his pickup. He walks to his office door and opens it as another knock echoes through his home.
It's open! Make yourself known!
He shouts, looking at the front door. It opens slowly, and standing there is Claire and Sarah, happy and healthy and looking a little worse for wear, but they're all cleaned and bandaged up.
Dalton!
Sarah shouts as she sees him in the doorway leaning against the door jamb. She lets go of Claire's hand and runs inside, wrapping her arms around one of his massive legs.
Whoa there, little lady. Easy on the old man now.
Sarah giggles and walks back to her mother. We're all packed and ready, Sheriff. We, just wanted to say thank you for everything, and say goodbye before we get back on the road. Don't take it too harshly, but I never want to see this town again. Present company excluded.
Well, ma'am, even if this isn't over, I don't think I'll be here even if you did come back again. I don't have those good genes like Miss Green does, he says with a chuckle.
Maybe one day you'll come visit us in the big city. A small change of pace when you retire.
Men like me don't retire, Missy. We just stop working one day,
Dalton says with a smile on his face. Well, we have to get going. Think about that visit. We'd love to see you again. You have a real fan here, and, well, someone has to play Santa, Claire says as the two start to walk away toward the car. Dalton calls out to Claire.
You know, it might be a little easier if I knew something. In all this time, you know, I've never even asked you for your last name.
Oh, really? She says, turning to look back at him. I never realized it didn't come up. Claire. Claire Davies. You can look me up. She turns, and the two continue towards the car. Sarah giggles and smiles shyly as they do. Dalton leans his head back into the room and reads the names of the jurors from the old article framed on the wall. Dalton, Betancourt, Miller, Smith, Cooper, Wilson. His heart begins beating again, and a calm washes over him. She isn't on the list, and he feels so much relief. He walks out of the office and stops in the doorway. He waves as they get close to the car, and they both look back one last time. Sarah looks right at him and giggles her cute little laugh again, looking back at Dalton.
Mama's name is Davies, but Daddy's name is Betancourt. Ha ha ha!
The little girl squeals through laughter. Dalton's face drains of blood, turning white. His heart sinks, and he gets a little weak in the knees as he braces himself against the door frame. Oh, crap!
Okay. I think that does it. This is not fabulous, and the whole screwing up the layers thing really messed me up. But I'm new to the program, and eventually I'll get there. So I may even redo this whole thing over. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Yeah, it's very sloppy, and when things don't go over each other right, you can't get the transparencies and the blends that you want. So, but it's not terrible. It is what it is. And I will give it one of these here thingies. And I can't write on that layer. Give me a layer I can write on. That one. Maybe that one. That is what's going on there. Okay, I think I know what I need to do. No. Vector. This ought to do it. There we go. Okay. Credits, and then I'll come back. Ready? Here we go.
In the town of Ember Falls, a fire begins to spark. There's something out there in the woods, and it's creeping through the dark. When the air begins to chill, the trees in autumn's flare. When the shadows stretch across this land, you might meet his twisted stare. Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, this madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do. This nightmare comes and goes every 20 years or so. In the darkness of the night, the blaze it seems to know. In the blackness of the woods, fire snakes from here to there. The creature fueled by ancient hate that causes his despair. Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, his madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do. When twilight's growing longer, in the forest he will roam, creeping like a hellspawn from the catacomb. The town folk speak in whispered tones, as they all live in fear. The fire is closing in on town, the inferno growing near.
When he places his hand upon you, and you're in his grip, your blood begins to boil, your skin begins to drip. The fire is inside you now, and you cinder in a flash. The flames of hell engulf your soul, and your body turns to ash.
Jack the Lantern, a creature of the night. He burns like the fires of hell, his madness setting the world alight. Jack the Lantern, he's coming for you too. If you're not innocent, you'll see there's nothing you can do.
Okay, so that's my story. Took me a year to write it, but I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope more people find it and they enjoy it. Yes, there was some slop used. There was no slop used to write it. That I refused to do. But there was some slop used to get voices, because I can't make the voices. I for a while there I couldn't make my own voice. So I did what I could. I got it out in time. That's all that mattered. Okay. So I have to check to make sure this is still going. I have no idea where you guys are, because there is definitely a delay going on. Yeah. Thank you for joining me. The recipe is hilarious. Thank you. I came up with that on my own. I love the serve cold with a charred toothpick. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. The voices, they're still me. It's just being said in a different voice. I had to record those lines and then feed them into the thing to get it to say it in those voices. I'm not super happy with the result, because it's a voiceover AI program. It's not a voice actor program. So I just couldn't. I was limited by what it could do. But yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. Glad to hang out with you guys again. Regular, I don't know. I can feel my whole shoulder is tightening up right now just from sitting here like this the whole time. And it's partially my pinched nerve neck, partially the back I wrecked when I was younger. So we'll see. Definitely gonna be doing more, I hope. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, the art wasn't exactly what I wanted. New program, figuring it out. Someday I'll get there. Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time.